Welcome to SicEm365 Radio, presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com.
On a third down, pressure coming. They're going to set up the screen. It's a low throw. What a catch by Allen. First down. Touchdown. With time and downfield. And that ball is intercepted by Woods. Xavier Woods now on the return, staying in and bringing it out just beyond the 40.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Second down and goal. Prescott. Gallup. Touchdown, what a catch!
Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on this Tuesday afternoon. SicEm365 Radio. Been a great day today. We've added sponsors today. We've also put together what we hope is a great guest list for you today. We will today, of course, check on the chat room on SicEm365.com, brought to you by the Willis Law Firm. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, text line 254-339-1122. Twitter, at SicEm365 Radio, at Paul Catalina, at Craig Smoak, at David Smoak. We're on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and SicEm365.com/live. And Paul, good afternoon, guys. What did Colt Barber pull something technology-wise?
Well, actually, we have to thank our listeners for this. So our listeners have tuned into Periscope so much because you have to get to a certain threshold. So enough people have tuned into Periscope where we've been automatically upgraded to where you can now listen in the background on Periscope.
I just got tingly. I don't know why. I just kind of...
So what that means is now if you're listening to the show or you want to listen on your phone on Periscope, you can download the Periscope app, find SicEm365 Radio, and when you set up your app, make sure you allow it to play in the background. So if you get a text or a phone call, say you're driving in the car and listening to us, through the Bluetooth in your car, you get a phone call, and when you hang up the phone, it'll just go right back to us.
Well, that's a good move. I know that was something that a few listeners out there had complained about or at least had brought to our attention as far as being a little bit of a bugaboo in listening to the show. So now, one less interruption, and just make sure that you go into your settings, as Paul mentioned, and click that button to allow for the background to not be interrupted so that if we have a conversation going, you don't miss out on anything. And we are now in show number 7, and you mentioned all the different ways that people can be a part of the show. And, of course, one of the major ways is not only the chat room on SicEm365.com, but also the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line at 254-339-1122. 254-339-1122 is how you can text in at any point during the show.
All right, so we'll have many guests lined up today just to give you an overview, and we'll have Craig and Paul and I will be checking the chat room and the text line. The guest lineup: former Baylor quarterback Nick Florence at 345, who I think is Hall of Fame worthy. Kurt Schilling, former Red Sox, Phillies, Diamondbacks,
Astros. He was an Astro, yeah.
Pitcher. And Mack Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics at 420. I think there's going to be some news coming out of Baylor University today, sometime later this hour, as they've been in executive meetings most of the day. Davion Mitchell, lockdown guard for Baylor, men's basketball, 445. And the always fun to listen to Nate Newton at 5. And John McClain, Houston Chronicle, today at 5:30. And I'm working on one of the guests that we will have on perhaps today's show, maybe even off the top. All right. Gilbrand has spoken. He has released his top 150 players. Paul, is this, and Craig, is the top 150, NFL.com. Gil was with us on Monday last week. Is this the top 150 without looking at who's picking?
His top 150 prospects.
So Joe Burrow's 1.
Yeah.
Chase Young 2. Isaiah Simmons from Clemson 3, he's a linebacker. Justin Herbert, Oregon 4, and Tua, Alabama quarterback at 5.
That's interesting to me. I was curious to see how he evaluated the quarterbacks. Justin Herbert at 4 is pretty interesting. Meaning that had he come out last year, I'm guessing he probably improved his draft position by about 7 or 8 spots. But if he had come out last year, he would have been a first-round pick no matter what. So now here he is looking at potentially a top 5. And if Gil Brandt ranks him 4, that means a lot of teams probably have him that high on their big board, meaning that there's probably some trading that's going to go on in that top 5 for teams that are desperate for quarterbacks. And the Redskins are in – I think the Redskins are in the best position in the draft because they don't necessarily need a quarterback if they like Dwayne Haskins. Now, they may pull a Josh Rosen with the new coaching staff and all that and say, well, damn the torpedoes, let's get rid of him. But they can sit there at 2 and take calls for somebody with a quarterback, especially if maybe they trade back to 5, and then they still might be able to get Chase Young. I don't know if he'll go that far, but if they keep it within the top 4 picks, they might still get to where they want to go.
Okay, that's if they can take advantage. Preparation, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So if the Redskins don't screw this up. Craig, 3 of the 5 players, quarterbacks. Of course, we know how they all merge to the top. It doesn't mean that's how it's going to go, but teams love quarterbacks. If you were the Redskins, not that we discussed them much, but if you were, would you take Young at 2? Would you trade down and possibly lose him? Because if you trade him to a team below you that moves up to 2, and then they trade their pick to somebody, Well,
the thing is, the Redskins, if they want Chase Young, they can't move. There's no trade that could happen that I foresee that would have them only fallen 2 or 3 spots. And I don't think that it's realistic to believe that Chase Young would still be out there outside of the top 5. So you're running the risk of, if you trade down, him not being available. If you think he's a guy, you have to take him. I understand the quandary at quarterback that they have. It would be nice to just slide in there and grab Tua Tagovailoa and have your next guy, but the Dwayne Haskins situation makes that a bit difficult. Can you really afford to just give up on a guy after a year? You mentioned Josh Rosen, and that's worked out actually well. That kind of whole ordeal, but for the Redskins, I don't know. If you think Chase Young's the guy, you got to go ahead and take him there at number 2. I really like what they do have on the defensive side, and with Rivera now the head coach, there's going to be an emphasis there. But if you do want him, you can't trade but a couple of picks. So I don't still see how realistic that really is.
I still think you're gambling, but you might gamble in a way that you still get him, but you also get you get more.
Well,
you might get like another pick, second-round pick or first-round pick next year, or even maybe something this year.
Look, the Dolphins are an interesting one because their quarterback right now is Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? So, he's not going to be there forever. So they're probably going to draft a quarterback, and they have a bunch of first-round and second-round picks. So they have the capital, if the Redskins hang it out there, to go get them.
It looks like, Charles Haley will join us here momentarily.
Oh, excellent. Send me that number.
I will.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to.
Well, then he's not
I
going to
know
give
you're
him
a little
show.
frisky today, Mr. Pablo. Paul, Craig, you have noticed Paul's got a little extra something in his step today.
Yeah, a little bit.
Got dressed, even like maybe showered.
No, I haven't showered.
You haven't?
No, I went to work out, and then I've been doing stuff since I got back. So
I'm glad you're on that side of the table.
But I'm going to go, I might as well just take advantage and get some of this energy out after the show and go run again because I'm so excited. Because a person who had a large part in ending a lot of pain in my life is on the show today.
And that would be one Kurt Schilling.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Without
You'd
Kurt,
think you'd shower for him.
Without Kurt Schilling, I can tell you I'd be a much sadder person.
Yeah. I would imagine so, yeah. Red Sox fans have gone from the have-nots to the spoiled over the last few years, and Kurt Schilling's a big part of the reason why.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I do know. Charles Haley used to be someone that just did not speak with the media, and he has now become, over the last 6 to 8 years, as enlightening and accessible as you can find anywhere. And I just sent him. I tried to reach out to him about the show this week, and he said yes, and he sent me a happy Easter. Mm-hmm. I'm not dropping names here. These are names we've accumulated over the years. Thanks as well to our good friend Chris Visser, among others. And he just said yes at 3:20. So, Paul, I'll send you that. We'll take a break in a little bit and come back with that. All right, the rest of the top 10 from Gil Brandt. So 3 of the 5, I said 3 of the 5 are quarterbacks. Derek Brown from Auburn.
Oh, big time defensive tackle. Big dude.
Jedrick Willis, tackle from
Alabama, right?
Alabama.
Yeah.
Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle from Michigan. Is that right? No, where's he from?
I think
Iowa.
Iowa. I think Wirfs might go before Willis just because he's a little more athletic. But
4 consecutive offensive tackles. Wills from Alabama, Wirfs from Iowa, Andrew Thomas from Georgia, who didn't play against Baylor, not that it mattered, and Mekhi Becton, an offensive tackle from Louisville.
And he's the guy who's just a complete giant. He's nearly 6'8" tall and close to 400 pounds. Just an absolute unit of a human being. And, there's a lot of people very high on him.
Baylor has 2 players ranked in the top 70. Craig?
Yes, they do have 2 players ranked in the top 70. Denzel.
Yep.
What are you showing me?
I was going to show you in fact if you don't remember the
No,
number.
I've got it.
Right.
Denzel Mims is one of Gilbrandt's favorite players that he's been talking about during the course of this draft. He's spoken very highly of him. Denzel Mims is number 49 overall, and Gilbrandt's just straight prospects. It's not a mock draft. And James Lynch, also on his top 150, coming in at number 68. So Mims at 49 and Lynch at 68.
Which means that Mims, if that works out, will be somewhere in that second round. And if it works for Lynch, he'll probably be either late second round or somewhere early on in the third round. So I'm excited to see it. It's kind of neat right now to kind of have something that is at least on the table as far as sports in the draft. Everything else, of course, right now is basically shut down. All right, so the Willis Law Firm, that's the chat room. You can go on SicEm365.com. It's in the premium section. You don't have to have that to listen to this show. And Paul, one more time, if you don't mind, because this is one of the things is when we launch, this is groundbreaking, how people now and what they can do to hear us. If someone wants to text them and they don't get cut off because we're still building the app, it will be fantastic. Thanks to the folks at SicEm365 Radio. But, again, for those who have not heard how you can hear us in the background and still go on with your life.
Periscope, it's an app through Twitter. It used to be its own thing, but Twitter bought it. Periscope, download the Periscope app, and then you can find us. And I guess it probably works if you do it on Twitter as well because it feeds through Periscope. But just download the Periscope app, search SicEm365 Radio, and make sure when you set up the app in your settings, you allow play in the background. That means so if you're in your car and listening to the radio or listening to us through the Bluetooth and you get a phone call, it won't drop it. It'll take the phone call, and then once you're done with the phone call, it'll come back and you can hear us again.
All right, Craig, you had a couple of notes. Paul, you had some baseball notes. We'll have Charles Haley at 3:20, Nick Florence at 3:45, and then Kurt Schilling today at 4, Mac Rhodes 4:20, and then also at 5 o'clock, Nate Newton, and then John McClain.
It does not work through Twitter yet. Thank you. Colt Barber just sent me that. But yes, through Periscope. So just go through Periscope. Go ahead, Greg.
Yep, just through Periscope. You want me to pass along a couple notes here?
Yeah.
Well, the one was the draft. Was those 2 picks with Mims and Lynch, and I just thought that was really interesting. And here we are. The draft's right on the verge of happening. So it's good to see this top 150 prospects list that was put out there. And, on Denzel Mims, there is such a logjam at wide receiver. So that's, something that's playing against him. But at the same time, there's a good chance that because there's so many quality wide receivers, there will be a run of sorts. And you would think that he'll be a big part of that. And I think a lot of the guys that he's perhaps even ranked behind on this list, he will still be selected over. But Brandt had the following to say on tape: Mims doesn't play as fast as someone with 4.38 speed, a 4-year player who made 35 starts. Mims, 886 catches, 2,925 yards, and 28 touchdowns. And then talks about him being able to win contested catches, had 20 of those in 2019. He has a thin lower body, but he's a good athlete, having played basketball and won the 200 meters in high school, a good person, and a hard worker. That was Gilbrandt's write-up on Denzel Mims, his 49th overall prospect. He did not do write-ups for those, 50 and beyond, because I imagine that would have taken forever for Gilbrandt to do all 150, but that was the capsule he had on Mims. There wasn't one on Lynch.
Yeah, by the way, in Major League Baseball, Hank Steinbrenner, the eldest son of George Steinbrenner, one of the 4 siblings who owned controlling shares of the Yankees, died today at the age of 63. He'd been battling a long-standing health issue. Has not, in the last 11 years, has been out as front as his brother Hank, who is the general partner for the 13th straight year. And, still consulted, but he had a health issue for a long time. So 63 years old, passed away, meaning that the Yankees, lost one of the Steinbrenners today. And former Red Sox player and 2018 World Series MVP Steve Pearce retired today.
Steinbrenner, and it was not coronavirus related.
No,
they had to make sure and
sick,
say that at 63 years old.
He was just sick for a long time. But
that's very young.
Yeah, 63 is real young.
I mean,
yeah,
very young.
Yeah, but a long-standing health issue. He was a lifelong chain smoker.
Well, that'll do it.
And so that's something he did. But and I brought up Steve Pearce because we do have Kurt Schilling on here in a few minutes.
Well, you could ask him. No,
Steve Pearce wasn't there. Steve Pearce played for every team in the AL East, and he was just kind of rotating. And he was the journeyman of all journeymen, but had a great year in 2018.
That's all that matters.
As their right-handed first baseman in DH, and 3 home runs, 8 ribbies in the World Series.
Yeah, he was really good. It's one of those great stories.
Yeah.
It's a great story. All right, coming up next, we open up with a Hall of Famer. Yesterday, we opened up with a Hall of Famer in Randy White. Today, we opened up with a Hall of Famer in Charles Haley, then Nick Florence, then Kurt Schilling, then Mack Rhodes, John McClain, Nate Newton. And tomorrow, oh my goodness, I can't wait to unload on what we have for tomorrow. This is SicEm365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodway. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
It's Tuesday. Craig, what episode number?
Number 7.
It's early enough we can't forget that. Week number 2, the launch of SicEm365 Radio. Today I mentioned off the top of the show, It's a great day. We've added some new sponsors, the Willis Law Firm chat room, and there's a couple of others we'll announce again at some point today. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak, and my goodness, we're now joined by a Hall of Famer, 5-time Super Bowl champion, former Cowboys and 49ers defensive end Charles Haley. Charles, how are you keeping yourself occupied these days?
It's hard to keep yourself occupied. I just, stay around the house. I do a lot of yard work, and then when opportunities come to go out and do some positives, like make sandwiches, work with Hunger Busters on Sunday to make meals for kids. Little things like that are special.
Charles, you had such a fantastic career that I know after watching the NFL Network special on you probably didn't even get to enjoy because of all the things you were going through in your life at the time. What made you look inside yourself and get better and become the person who, every time I've encountered you, you've been as happy as anybody I've ever seen and great to talk to?
Well, I had to accept that, I had a mental illness. I never accepted that. And so therefore I never worked on that. But the moment I accepted it, it was a game changer because I knew I had to do something about it. And, the medication helped, but, at the end of the day, it's about me, being in control of myself, see the warning signs. I know when I'm going down. I know when I'm getting kind of down and depressed. And when those days comes, I get out in the public, shake hands, do the little things that picks me back up. But a lot of people just don't want to make that second effort to get out of it.
Charles, how much from just the amount of attention that's being paid right now to mental health has that helped in being able to be more open and not maybe feel that there's a stigma in talking about such things?
I don't know where you've been reading or who you've been talking to. The stigma is still there. Every time somebody with a gun go kill some people, that runs millions of people back into the dark. Hey, I have a mental illness, but I never thought about killing anybody. So the key is that people got to wake up and realize that they have to get help, and they realize within themselves that they're good people. They got to get counseling, and they got to love themselves. I kept looking out that window. It was so dirty. I couldn't see. I told my kids I was worthless. I laid in bed. I never wanted to get up. I said, and I'm going like, what the hell? I won 5 Super Bowls. You know what? I came from poverty, to college, to the NFL, and I'm sitting here moping. And so that's my key.
So during the time you're having all this success, this Hall of Fame career and Super Bowl championship rings that fit on all 5 fingers, are you also, you enjoyed some moments, but you didn't enjoy life?
I couldn't tell you one moment of the Super Bowl afterwards. It took me like 4 or 5 days to realize what I've done, and then I always put it behind me because I always believed that if I put my ring on, that means I'm satisfied. I don't want another, and I hunger and thirst after victory and success. So I never really enjoyed any of the Super Bowls or just winning the Super Bowls.
Charles, you've gotten a chance to work, I know, and talk to some of the Cowboys defensive linemen and defensive ends. I know that you've worked with Tank Lawrence and a lot of the other young guys. What do you think about the guys that they have in right now and their potential, especially, now that they've kind of revamped the defensive line a bit going into next season?
Hey, I don't know. They got a lot of possibilities. I don't know. I don't know. I know Tank Lawrence is there. I know they got they have two inside tackles that I believe in, but on the right side, you know what? I don't know anything that's going on over there. They got maybe Randy Gregory going to come back, and then you got Alden Smith that's been out of football for 5 years. So I don't know. And it boils down to this: are you hungry? And if they're hungry, then guess what? They'll take the job. Otherwise, they're just people on the team.
Charles, did you feel it was about time for a change at head coach? Had you thought that Jason Garrett had had enough time, or did you feel like they were actually getting close?
Hey, I played with Jason. I got a lot of respect for Jason. But at the end of the day, either you having success or you're not. I got fired from Detroit, so I know how that feels. But the new coach, man. I walked up there and to see him. He was in a staff meeting. He looked out through the window. He saw me. He got up from the staff meeting, came over out the door, talked to me, and then took me in his office. Hey, you know what? That kind of respect is what is needed, and players gonna respond to it. And I don't know his coaching style, but when you do little things like that, you got a way to do little things. I'm in. He already sold me. I'm in. And I told him, I told him, I told him what I do when I go over there. You know what? I don't care. I might prod guys, and they might tell me they hate me, and I tell them, you know what? I'm doing a good job then. I said, because I'm into that win stuff and not that friend stuff. If we do that win stuff, then I can get in that friend stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Hey, yeah, I got to be nice about it, guys. That ain't what I really want to say, but I went on to, try to be nice.
Well, you won because you were a part of world championships. You were also the trigger, even though the Cowboys had set themselves up for success with Aikman and Irvin and Emmett and others, that you were the flip. You were the one that flipped the switch. What was that like, knowing that you could be the difference between one team, the two superpowers at that time, and that you were the difference between what San Francisco could do and then what Dallas was able to do?
Well, the thing was, when I walked out to practice and stuff, I walked out there with an attitude, like I'm playing. I try to knock them out, and then when practice is over, I'll sit there and teach the offensive line, about the people they're gonna play against, and then a lot of the defensive linemen didn't like me because I was very aggressive and abusive, but they found a way, because when we went in the rooms during lunch, and I talked to them about, okay, this is how you read the linemen and stuff. They would get quiet and listen, and then they would ask me questions. But most of them, like I told you, I've been alone. I've been alone so long in my life that I didn't care.
Charles Haley, Pro Football Hall of Famer, 5-time Super Bowl champion, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Charles, who was your football idol growing up that you wanted to be like and play like?
Mean Joe Green. Hey, he got that was the only time, because usually, I'm a Southern Baptist, so we stayed in church all the time, and something happened. I think it was snow or something, and we couldn't go, and I got a chance to watch one Super Bowl, and when he threw that jersey to that kid, hey, I was in. You know what? Because I always felt like I always felt like Linus and with Snoop in them, and that every time I went to kick the ball, somebody, she would move the ball and I'll fall on my back.
Yeah.
That's the way I felt in my life, man. I always just felt like, you know what, that's going to happen. So that's why I play with an edge, a chip on my shoulder, because, I always believe that somebody trying to take my job, and I ain't going to make it easy.
You mentioned your relationship with Jason Garrett, and you had relationships with different coaches along the way. Obviously, Jimmy, and then Switzer when you won your 5th Super Bowl, and then the coaches in San Francisco. What did you want? What did you want from them? What did Charles Haley need from them? Was it just flat-out trust, that you trusted them? What did you need?
All I need them is tell me what they want done. I'm a Marine. I'll go get it done. Just give me direction, get the hell out my way. But when people want to sit there and talk to you for hours, man, I get lost. I don't know what you're talking about. And then, if you say one or two things that I don't like, then that's the whole conversation for me. I had to learn to look at people as they talk. I need to see it and hear it. And I tell people, when you're dealing with people with a mental illness or they think about it, you got to stop and say, oh, what did I say? And then, you realize that, hey, that they picked up stuff that you might not have said. So you have to look at it like that,
Mm-hmm. Charles, we just got a text on our Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line as a fan of his, I don't know who this is. As a fan of his, he always makes me smile. He brought us a championship. Without him, we have nothing. He'll be loved forever. So that's a fan of ours and a fan of yours here on the text line, just saying what you meant to the Cowboys fan base.
Well, you know what? I didn't know what true fans was until I came to Dallas. I've never in my life, understood how every home game, they're going crazy, and then when we went on away games, they were out there going crazy. We had home field advantage no matter where we went, and the fans showed up and showed out for me. And when I go to the stadium, I don't care if it's the janitor up to the Jerry Jones. I treat all of them respect, because you know what? Without them, there could not be me. And I try to get players to understand, when you walk out that door, you made a conscious decision to be in the public. Hey, how about trying to be nice? What is trying to, love another person? And so that's the things that I try to instill. Like, it was instilled to me with, like, Ronnie and Joe and all those guys. You know what? They don't run from situations. They don't like being rushed, but you know what? They'll take time out, sign your autograph, and talk to you. But and those things like that, man. When I came to the 49ers, man, Joe Montana was playing with me, and you know what? I didn't know who Pinocchio was, but so it's on one of the preseason games, I opened that program, and I looked at his name, and I looked over at him. Hey, they had pages and pages. Then they had Ronnie, Jerry Rice, and I'm going like, why these guys like me for? And it's puzzle. To this day, I still don't understand. I still don't understand why Bill Walsh loved me like he did. The day before he died, he called me and said, "Charles, what can I do to help you?" And he told me, he said, "You know what? I'm tired of this medicine." He said, "I'm not doing it anymore." And he passed away. And I just don't understand that kind of love and that kind of passion, because you know what? That's something I never experienced in my life, man. And I experience it now, because you know what? I realize now a lot of people give me that, but like Emmett said, Emmett told me one day, and that was game changing too. He said, "You won't get." He said, "You're always on attack. You don't give a person to love you." You know what I'm saying? Because I always attack. And when he said that, it really gave me an opportunity to sit down in that chair and reflect upon that. And that was a game changer.
Charles, we appreciate everything about your emotions and your insight. And we've seen a major difference, obviously, over the last few years with what you've done at the College Football Hall of Fame. Paul, you were there and got him, and then the Super Bowl and Radio Rows. It's so neat to see you smile, and it's wonderful because you've had an amazing life, an amazing success, and it's great. Isn't it great? How many people can hear, here's a guy, 5 Super Bowls, championships, rings, Hall of Fame, and you're happy now and what you can communicate to those and what your message could mean to people. What's it like to be this happy again?
Hey, again?
Oh,
I told you, man. As a kid, all the way up, man, I never felt joy. I know what joy is now. I know what love is now, and it's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. I have so many friends from all walks of life, man, that comes up and loves me, and they do great things for me. And I don't, like I said, I don't understand it. But you know what? I understand now. I never told another man that I loved them. I can do that now with honesty, and I think that's the truism of what I say is that now I can open up my emotions to another person and be okay with it.
Well, thank you for doing that with us, and man, thanks for jumping on today, Charles. I hope you had a great weekend. Congratulations on all you've done.
Thank you, sir. Y'all be blessed, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank
wow.
you.
What a way to start.
Bye.
What a story, huh?
Yeah, I now 3 for 3 on talking to Charles Haley and getting barked at by Charles Haley. So y'all are probably viewing it differently than I. There's something about he and I that when I ask a question, he doesn't quite understand the way I'm asking it. Because I definitely was not saying that everybody's aware of mental illness and it's all the rage and but there's something about me and Charles. I just don't know what it is, man, that we just are not, we're not in the same wavelength. But having said that, I'm totally fine. He's really turned into an incredible human being for somebody who obviously was dealing with a whole heck of a lot of issues while you would think he would be having the time of his actual life. But instead, you hear that prime of his career, those 5 Super Bowls, those are like a drop in the bucket to him because he wasn't even enjoying them at the time. And it just goes to show you see these people, how many people probably watched Charles Haley on TV at the time and thought man, I wish I could be that guy. I wish I could make all that money and play football for a living, only to find out that this man's really hurting and struggling and not even enjoying the fact that he's a millionaire and a Super Bowl champ 5 times over. Just incredible. It just really shows you that you don't know what people are going through, but he's a success story because, that really could have gotten twisted up and gone a much different way post-playing career. It could have been real dark, but instead he's been a ray of light now for people who have struggled with mental illness, and I think you see by the number of people who are just so happy to hear him so jovial that it says quite a bit about what they thought about him to begin with and are very happy to see that he's dealt with some of his issues.
Well, and Craig, that day, the College Football Hall of Fame, that's the first time that we had Charles Haley on the show ever, and that was in 2014. It was at the college football playoffs, so I guess it was 2015 that first, in January. And so I was up there, and I got you guys, Brian Bosworth, and a couple other people, and I remember I called Smokey and I said, all right, well, here's the list of people I'm going to get today. And I got to Charles, and Smokey goes, no, you're not. He said that. He goes, don't. He goes, and Ivan, our friend Ivan, set that up, and I said, no, Ivan said he's going to be here and he'll get him. He's like, look, he's going to be there, but you're not going to. Charles Haley's not walking through that door. And I said, no. And so I sat down and interviewed him, and it was great. And then I called Smokey again. He goes, what happened to Charles Haley? Because you had never really even talked to him in all that time of covering the Cowboys, had you?
No, you didn't talk to him. And you weren't dumb enough to approach him. Now, there were some beat writers that probably, maybe some of the old cagey guys or maybe someone who was young that just connected with him. Eventually, if I could just share the text messages with him back and forth for the last week, and here I say, hey, I just wanted to check with you one more time today. And the next thing you know, he goes, I can come on now.
Yeah.
5-time Super Bowl, and Craig, he doesn't remember them, basically.
No, doesn't seem to have that. He definitely doesn't have the Barry Switzer recollection of past events. You know, Barry can recite the down and distance as he did yesterday on the show of games that were played back in '85. But yeah, Charles a little bit more of a difficult time doing that, but still very insightful. And you know, it's not even so much a football story with him; it's more of just a human being story with Charles Haley that's turned out to be a really good one.
Yeah.
And so it's great to hear from him.
It is fantastic to hear from him. And thanks for those of you. Again, the text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, 254-339-1122. The Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com. Some of you have been able to come in with that. Leon, one of our most loyal listeners. Leon was like, for example, well, I just lost my spot on it, but he was excited. That is from the heart. And at the end of it, when he said, again, no, I've never been happy until recently. When we come back, Nick Florence, I think that, that what?
I got a piece of news that you kind of referenced at the beginning
Baylor
of the
University,
show.
yeah.
That's pretty heavy. I mean, the details are to come, and we're going to find out the details in the next few minutes. But bottom line is this: Linda Livingstone, president of Baylor University, had a video posted by the university just a few moments ago, and it says, a message from President Livingstone on Baylor budget reductions related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I'll save you sitting through what was not a lot of information. It was more of just like a soothing message to let everybody know that there was going to be some announcement coming. But bottom line is this, the gist of it, $65 to $80 million as far as university-wide cost reductions for their upcoming fiscal year starting on June 1st. That's going to be touching operations. It's going to touch support services. Most definitely is going to touch athletics. So Baylor announcing a $65 to $80 million reduction in additional cost or essential revenue. So they are feeling the pinch just like a lot of other schools are right now. Now, as far as what all is going to be affected by that, that's supposed to be addressed in her email that will be sent sometime this afternoon. But obviously, that's major news right there.
Yeah, it is, and that's something that came down. There's a video post, as you know, it's like 4 minutes long, a little bit less than that, about some cuts. Now, Mac Rhodes is going to be on with us today, Director of Athletics at 420, and I'm sure he might be able to tell us some of what that means. Who was it that, and Nick Florence is next, Kurt Schilling at 4. There are programs now, athletic departments, that are starting to drop programs within their athletic departments.
Yes. Cincinnati announcing today that men's soccer has been done away with. I mean, not like shut down for, the next year or anything like that. They have eliminated their men's soccer program at the University of Cincinnati due to budget cuts. So there you go. There's a really unfortunate piece of news for that program and for those players on that Cincinnati roster and those coaches. So this is not the first. It will definitely not be the last either, as far as announcements from schools on sports of some types being shuttered or budget cuts, as is Baylor's case this afternoon.
All right, yeah, from Colt Barber. Did you get that text from Colt? In email, athletic facility questions will be answered according to Jason Cook in that whatever release there might be. And, of course, Mac Rhodes on with us at 3:45. Coming up next, Nick Florence. Of all the teams you've seen over the last 10 years at Baylor, how good they have been. I still think at the end of the 2012 season, that team had peaked to where nobody wanted a piece of them. Nick Florence was the quarterback. He's next on SicEm365 Radio.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Kurt Schilling joins us today at 4. You just heard from Hall of Famer, 5-time Super Bowl champion Charles Haley. If you missed it, you missed it. We'll have it up on a podcast, of course, very soon. We're now joined by former Baylor quarterback and, of course, still a part of Baylor Athletics, and Nick Florence. Nick, would you agree that even with the record you ended up with in 2012, 8-5, that at the end of that year, when you smothered UCLA and pounded them in the dirt, but by the end of that year, that team right then was peaking and could play with anybody?
That's a great question, Smoak. First, thanks for having me on. It's fun to be back on the radio with you guys. Still trying to figure out why you wanted me on. It's been a while. But, you know, to answer that question, I mean, I'm going to be biased because it was my senior year and it was my team. So, I would say that as a team, we were confident and could beat anybody. Now, that's what you want every team to think. So, I don't know how much weight that carries, but we were definitely playing good ball.
What happened? What flipped the switch? I know that might have been a moment. It could have been K-State. It could have been – what flipped the switch in your opinion?
You know, I think, you know, the way I look back, I think we just started playing for one another and having fun. And, you know, you got a bunch of incredible athletes. And, you know, at times, any team, you have people that are focused on themselves and you want to point fingers. And, you know, sometimes as an offense, we were doing really well that year and the defense not so much. And then other times the defense played fairly well and the offense didn't do much. And instead we just started playing for each other and with each other and just kind of changed our mindset and really, I think just became a team, the epitome of what a team looks like and does, and playing for one another and serving one another and looking out for the interests of others. And so I think that really was a big shift for us.
Nick, you played that game against Texas Tech in Arlington, and you played that half when Robert got hurt. Do you think that the rule should be called the Nick Florence rule that we have in effect now, that if your situation happens, that players can get that year back?
You know, I doubt the NCAA, when they were looking at that rule, pulled up Nick Florence. I don't know that I was quite on their mind when they created that. But, you know, I'm glad to see it. You know, I have no regrets. I've got no ill will. And, you know, everything happens in life for a purpose and a reason. my story is the way it was meant to be, and it was the best story that I could have ever dreamed up. And so happy for the student athletes that now get a chance to play in 4 games and build their skill level and what it's like playing college football, so that they can be better prepared. And so I think it's a great rule, and every rule has pros and cons, and I'm not going to get into that, but I think it's good for a lot of athletes.
Nick, Baylor's fortunate in having a quarterback back in Charlie Brewer who's had experience starting nearly 3 seasons right now, but they have a brand new head coach. They're not going to have any spring ball with this new head coach in Dave Aranda. Now, that's an even playing field for all the other schools out in the rest of the country, but not having that spring ball time for those young players, how detrimental is that? How much did you get from having that time period with the coaches to go over things?
I mean, I think it's definitely huge, and probably more so for a school that has a new head coach that's going to be implementing new systems defensively and offensively. But at the end of the day, whether you're playing football at the collegiate level, whether you're working, whether whatever your profession, or even my 4-year-old daughter, change is inevitable right now. Everyone is dealing with it, and so learning how to adapt and make the most of every situation and reframe the situation to take advantage of it. And, the great thing about stuff right now for our athletes is they're getting a lot of one-on-one, film study, whether, through Zoom calls and different things. And so they also have a lot of time to rest their bodies. I've even had the thought of, I wonder if our student athletes across the nation will come back bigger, faster, stronger, just because they've had a chance to get healthy. They're not grinding all the time. I wonder, from a sports science standpoint, how, it will affect when things get back to normal and people start studying the impact, coronavirus had on athletes. And I wonder if you will see people come back in better shape than ever because their bodies have had a chance to heal and recover and rest. So, who knows what the impact will be, but they're making the most of it. And as is every school, and the ones that can adapt to change are the ones that are going to be successful.
It's interesting because I have always thought about this, and I mainly was thinking about with the high school players, because there's so many of these camps and so many, it never stops, it never ends, is I've always wondered, is there almost too much? And coaches may disagree with me, and then some might say, no, there really might be too much, because there's no break. There's none.
Yeah.
And I understand that, and if you're going to get a scholarship, you got to go play in all these AAU or these other tournaments in the summer. There just seems like there's no chance just to go be a kid anymore, and I mean kid or young man or young woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously when I was being recruited out of high school, I think a lot of those camps and coaching and kind of the nonstop mentality was just starting to really take off. I didn't really do camps. I didn't really have a private coach or anything. I just let my high school coaches coach me. And, but it's funny, when things get disrupted, as we're dealing with now as a nation and really as an entire world, things get put back in perspective. I was even having a conversation with my wife, and, we've got a 4-year-old and a 5-month-old at home. And obviously we've love taking advantage of our free nights and weekends now and getting to spend a lot of time with family and praying that we build deep bonds and friendships with one another. But it kind of woke us up to how busy we were, and I think a lot of people are going to realize, athletes and non-athletes are going to realize just how busy we are as a society. And it'll be interesting to see how things change and adapt because of all this. But I think it's an opportunity to really set priorities again and what's important and what really is going to impact the bottom line of what really matters in life. And that's different for everybody. And so I think this is a chance for us all to slow down and figure out what that is. And for me, it's my faith and my family is the most important thing. And then I get to be a part of a job that impacts lives. And so that's right up there with those other two. And I'm lucky and blessed to be a part of it.
Nick, obviously, there's about to be some details on, the budget reduction at Baylor, and college athletics is going to be affected greatly by all of this, especially, lower rung sports and all that. As someone who works, you work for the Baylor Foundation and all the things that you've done, how do you see this impacting, at least in the short term, college athletics and how they're going to have to deal to kind of keep things afloat?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a great question, and I think we're all trying to figure out what the impact will be. You know, I think at the end of the day, obviously, we were, as a university, thanks to Mac and President Livingstone and their leadership, and then just all the folks involved in what we do. I mean, we had the ship humming, honestly, and in terms of what we do and how we do it, and then the success on the field across all of our sports. We were humming, and sometimes, you get in those places, and I'm trying to avoid the comment I'm about to make, but I'm getting fat and happy. I'm eating a lot more nowadays that I'm at home. But sometimes we get fat and happy, and you get complacent, and we add positions because we can, and we think they're gonna increase ROI, and so I think through all this, at the end of the day, great leaders adjust, and we're going to be better in the end. But it definitely causes you to really dive in and to look at things and what really is valuable, what does give us an ROI, and how do we become lean and still efficient and produce the most. And so, it's definitely going to do that across the board in college athletics. And now I'm thankful for our leadership at the university that obviously they value people and personnel, and they're doing everything they can to make sure that stays at the top of the list. And for Mac Rhodes and our athletic staff, every sport matters, every student athlete matters, every person matters. And so as they come across decisions and different things, they're going to take that into consideration and make that the most important thing. And so I don't know the impact that it will have, but it will definitely have one, and we're all adjusting, and so are our fans and our donor base. And I'll say this, the interactions I've had with fans, donors, coworkers, Baylor's we're lucky to be a part of Baylor. I think there's something special going on here, and at the end of the day, God's going to use all this for His glory, and He will be glorified.
Enjoyed the way you handled your career, the success you had. Paul, what was the boot? Who was the bootleg against? The long, like you had to run a long way, Nick,
yeah.
and you did a good job with it. Was that against my alma mater, SFA? Who was that against?
You talking about the long run down the sideline?
Yeah, it was.
I really wanted Glasgow to score, so I got tackled on the 2-yard line so he could get the touchdown.
Yeah. So unselfish.
That one. I think it was Sam Houston. State.
Okay, well, good. That's who you need to do that against.
But I was a little gassed. My body and strength is not built for 80-yard runs. So.
But your mind and body and health and your message is built for everybody, man. Nick, thank you. Appreciate your time. Great to have you on,
appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys a ton. And, again, it's a privilege. So
see you hopefully.
Keep up the good work.
See you hopefully at something pretty soon. Thanks for your time. That's Nick Florence, quarterback, now part of Baylor. With the Baylor, Paul, is that the Baylor Foundation, right?
Yeah, the Foundation, yeah.
And then coming up, Kurt Schilling. Wow, Mac Rhodes on many things that he learned today in executive meetings at Baylor with all the various budget and cutbacks. And then at 4:45, Davion Mitchell of Baylor men's basketball. Nate Newton and John McClain. This is SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Duggan rolls, looking Rager's way, throws, and picked off. Braylon Arnold stepped right in front and made the pick for Baylor.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. When life is stressful, there's an ideal solution. Ideal MRI. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go, SicEm365 Radio, waiting on the arrival of Kurt Schilling to be a part of today's show. The Baylor University letter that has been sent out to various people on staff, faculty. There are a couple of things, and obviously Mac Rhodes will join us today at 4:20. Construction of the Mark and Paula Hurd Welcome Center and the Baylor Basketball Pavilion deferred until economic conditions improve. That makes sense. However, architectural and planning work will continue on both projects. The renovation of the Tidwell Bible Building will continue, given the project was fully funded from external sources. All other major capital expenditures will be postponed. And there will be, obviously, some budget reductions and much more. How that affects athletics, this is across the board. This is not just about athletics, but obviously the money that athletics is not able to bring in right now, or tuition and fees and refunds or whatever, that has a lot to do with it. And Baylor, along with everybody else, will have to sit there and try to figure out how they're going to battle through right now, which is a very difficult time.
Yeah, they're not making any money. I mean, it's pretty simple that nobody out there is making any money right now in the college athletics world. And so when you spend as many millions as you do, then that's just going to be an area where you look to trim a little bit of the fat that you can trim. Now, the good news is if you were an athletics fan, there's not a whole lot that really pertains to athletics in these announced budget cuts. The $65 to $80 million in cost reductions is what Baylor has announced from their projected $750 million budget for the fiscal year 20 and 21, much of which the announcement says is tied to compensation, utilities, and other contractually binding obligations. Baylor does say they recognize the cuts will be difficult, and they proceed to kind of lay it out there. Let's see, a decision regarding merit increases for fiscal year 2021 for faculty and staff, which includes the administration, has been postponed until January. That had been announced, I guess, about 3 weeks ago. Baylor's defined contribution to the Baylor retirement plan for eligible participants will decrease from 10.8% to 8%. An immediate hiring freeze will be implemented, which will either defer or eliminate vacant faculty and staff positions. There will be limited exceptions, and such decisions like that will be made at the President's Council level. Non-essential staff positions, again, will be eliminated. Utilization of temporary employees will be significantly reduced. Overtime will be eliminated, excluding for members of the public safety and university police department. The employment of adjunct faculty across all colleges and schools will be reduced. So those are some of the compensation and benefits cuts. On the university level, a strategic review and reduction of operating or non-personnel budgets will be initiated across all colleges, schools, and units, including administrative divisions and athletics. Also, aggressive efforts to refinance the university's existing debt at lower interest rates will continue once the market becomes more favorable. And as you mentioned, the construction of the Mark and Paul Hurd Welcome Center, this is the athletics-related piece, although I would say the hiring freeze is also athletics-related just because we've seen, from time to time, Dave Aranda hire an analyst or, an assistant of some sort. That's all going to be put on pause for right now. But that Mark and Paul Hurd Welcome Center and the Baylor Basketball Pavilion being deferred until economic conditions improve. But as you mentioned, the planning and work and the architectural look at everything will continue on. So still some projects that will move along, like the Tidwell Bible building, because it's already fully funded. But some of those big, shiny new buildings that you were hoping to see on the landscape here in the next couple of years, well, those are going to have to wait for the time being.
Yeah, and they should. And those things should wait until you kind of get things back under control, if, in fact, whenever that might be. Mack Rhoades can be more definitive and more detailed on how it affects his department, you would think, which is one of the departments that helps fund a great deal of what they do, not only just in athletics, but also in other ways as well. So we're working on tracking down Curt Schilling, not Hall of Famer, but he should be, I think.
He absolutely should be.
And obviously a guy that has won a ring that ended the drought of 86.
Yeah.
86 years for the Red Sox. Now, he told me this when I communicated with him. He goes, you guys just keep blowing up my phone. Just keep trying. Paul's doing that because he's a stalker.
Yeah. Wow.
And so
I'm a little concerned I'm on some sort of watch list.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I don't have Big Poppy's number. Or otherwise,
God.
Otherwise, I'd just send him a text.
So,
hey, how are we doing today?
Yeah, I think he's
Happy
Friday.
Tuesday.
But we're trying to work on Curt Schilling, and that's going to be something that's a work in progress. Mack Rhoades, we get him at 4:20. Davion Mitchell, 4:45. Nate Newton at 5. John McClain at 5:30. We will find room for, obviously, Curt Schilling, and hopefully here sometime soon. Now, Craig, this is from Grayson Grunhafer, SicEm365. Is that they're waiting for a commitment? Is that premium?
There's potential that there could be a commitment coming sometime this week. Just kind of letting people know to maybe be on the lookout that one of the prospects they have offered is going to be looking like making a decision here in the next day, 2 days, whatever the case may be. I'm not exactly sure where Grayson projected. I haven't read that piece just yet, but I do know that he's been on top of the potential for another addition to 2021, although that is not set in stone just yet. So just, if anything, letting you know that there's some rumblings and maybe we could have some good recruiting news to pass along at some point this week.
All right. Now, yesterday I gave on occasion some of the surveys of nearly 4,000 people on theathletic.com. Some was about recruiting. Some was about whether you'd go back into the stadium, how much you do this or how much you do that. What is your primary second screen while watching college football? This is to say, what other communications are you using watching games on a Saturday afternoon when there are games being played?
My laptop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that'd be phone would be an option.
But what part of your
TV.
laptop? What part of your laptop? Like Facebook? What would it be?
I've got Twitter. I usually have Twitter or TweetDeck open during games.
56.9% have Twitter up. Among those nearly 3,500 responses.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like a second TV to watch an actual game. You're talking
second
about just
screen. Other ways to communicate while you're watching games.
Yeah, it'd be Twitter for most people.
Facebook is a very, very, very distant third. Actually, text and or group text is a very distant second. So, in fact, the Twitter is 56.9%. Everything else, of course, the two I just mentioned are just under 37%. So that's interesting. And, of course, Twitter, people do Facebook or other particular ways, or like this personally text messaging as well. All right. This hour brought to you by Boozer's Jewelers. Thanks to Brad Boozer, the wedding ring store at the corner of Lake Air and Valley Mills in Waco. We'll have coming up Mac Rhodes in a minute. You're like frothing. This would have been a great April Fool's joke, right?
Yeah, that's why I was a little bit worried that it was, and you just thought.
No, it's not. I mean, I actually communicated with him. He's great.
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling's great, and it's the first time really, and this is episode 7, as we call it, that we've had somebody that's a little bit delayed, but we'll keep, and he told me just keep blowing up the phone. You know, he's a man of many more things than just a pitcher and a baseball player. He's very much involved in many things when it comes to politics as well, but we'll get Kurt Schilling as soon as we possibly can, but eventually we'll give way to Mac Rhodes. So you've done Zoom. Craig, have you done Zoom?
Yeah, I have.
You did?
I have not. Grayson and I do our podcast.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Is there anything that's happened while you've done a Zoom conference call that, like, just natural things that now are happening where you are that otherwise you would normally not be on a conference call?
Like
doorbell ringing, a dog barking. Like Woodrow's one of the most amazing dogs ever.
No, I mean, I don't have a very full household, so it's pretty quiet, and I don't have to worry about too much of that. Grayson, on his end, I'd never heard any random dog barking or anything like that, or his fiance yelling, or really anything. We've had smooth sailing, although I've seen some of those Zoom stories out there that talk about, people hijacking the stream and, all of a sudden yelling over the microphone randomly, and that's a nightmare scenario. But I don't think hackers have, paid probably too much attention to Grayson and I talking Baylor Athletics.
Not enough time. Where do people have this time?
Well, everybody's at home right now.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
All the time.
I have done. We did an improv show via Zoom a couple weeks ago for the Brazos Theater of Waco. We did that, and that was challenged. The first we had a rehearsal. And the rehearsal was people's kids coming in the room and then people not paying attention to how you get your screen the right way. And the thing is, like, kids will just walk in a room and stand in front of a computer. Mom, I'm thirsty. Mom, I'm thirsty. Mom, I'm thirsty. I mean, yeah, okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah, that's something that I don't feel I'm missing out on anything.
No.
I know there's a lot of other benefits to having a child, but that's part of it. It's like, okay, just try to have a Zoom meeting, honey. Please just give me this time. I've seen where Zoom backgrounds have become very popular now. Instead of just having like the wall in your living room or wherever you may be broadcasting from or conferencing from, that a lot of, and even Baylor, I saw where they put out, I think it was like a McLean Stadium Zoom backdrop. So you save the pic and you can have it as your automatic background. Some people go with like nature landscapes and things like that, but that's one of those areas where I've seen that become kind of popular, is to have the big fun background in your Zoom meetings.
Yeah, you can download an app to your desktop called Snap Camera, and Snap Camera, I believe it's from Snapchat, same company.
Oh, really?
And so you can have a Star Wars background or filter or Tiger King or whatever you want to do while you're doing these Zoom calls.
Yeah, I think, eventually you'd like have your own background now. Like you could make your own logo, right? Why can't you do like what Baylor does or A&M does or Texas or whoever? They have their sponsor in the background. Like you sponsor your Zoom now. Mm-hmm. Like whoever it might be. Like Texas Farm Bureau Insurance or whatever, and whoever it might be. All right, Chris Fowler, this is an article that was by Zach Barnett, citing informed speculation that the 2020 season he thinks could start in February.
I just don't understand. Like, then what are they going to do about the next season? Because you're going to have such a small delay in getting right back to it. If you were to start a season in the fall or in February, it would almost just make sense to, and I'm not advocating for it because I want to see college football, but I mean, that's...
What does that mean for basketball?
Yeah.
Why can't you do both?
So how do you...
You cannot lose the football season. No. If you lose the football season and you've already lost a men's basketball season, you won't have a men's basketball season next year.
Yeah.
Right? I don't... Well, maybe that's something Matt can tell.
My point is this. If you start in February, your season's going until at least April, right? Your season's going to at least April. So... April, okay, well, that's now conflicting with the NFL draft. Combines, Pro Day, how's that going to work? And then you have 3 months until the season starts again.
I don't think you can worry about anymore the television concerns of what the way the calendar of sports has always fallen perfectly. You turn one page, it opens up into another. There's very few overlaps. I don't think right now even the networks would have to find alternative ways, like the Masters, as we mentioned, in November is going to butt up right against college football and the NFL. And CBS, as far as I know, they do the NFL, they do college football. I just think right now you can't really worry about what the conflicts are.
Yeah, you just gotta.
You're just gonna have to figure it out, and the TV networks are gonna have to use the TNTs and the TBSs and the plus whatever and ESPNU, and they do that anyway. And there might be more online ESPN Plus options that are made.
I understand the way all these networks could be utilized. I'm talking about the athletes themselves. You're going to have them play a season in February in this idea, play for 2.5, 3 months as they normally would, wrap up right as the draft and all that. Okay, so we don't care about interruptions. We're just trying to play right now. Okay, well then you do something with the draft or whatever the conflict is. My bigger concern with starting a season early next year is that by the time you get done, you're basically turning right around and starting another season. So where is this break coming in? And we already hear about how taxed and stressed out and paid these college athletes are, under rewarded they are. I mean, how many complaints do you think there will be? Although I'm sure we'll all be grateful just to have something.
Someone that could answer that question, if in fact that happens, is going to be next.
Yes.
That's a great question, Craig. Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor, next on SicEm365 Radio. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and to support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades, brought to you by Edward Jones Investments, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and also Tom Albers, making investing very simple. And, of course, these days nothing is simple. And we're now joined by Mack Rhoades, who's been involved in, of course, executive meetings. We have read part of what Dr. Livingstone said and then released to Baylor Nation, and also to even the media. Mack, thanks for your time. I can imagine you'd rather be a lot more places than on the show with us. What and how does today affect the athletic department today?
Well, appreciate being on with the three of you. Thank you for having me. And obviously today's announcement was not a surprise to myself or to the leadership of the department. We've been having ongoing conversations about, cost reduction and budget impact and all of those things. And so, we've been in the process of planning and preparing and, very much like the university where they've got this target, cost reduction range of, 65 million to 80 million. We've done the same, and universities, cost reduction model is based on decline in revenues, and you think about this potential for decline in enrollment, and that's not just specific to Baylor, but I think it's a cause and concern just nationwide, across the board, just, all institutions, and, are as many people going to be able to go to college and afford college, right? And, just thinking about the economy, et cetera. And for us athletics, it's about, will there be a reduction in terms of, people coming to our games, to live events. And again, there's still a question today, are we even going to have live events? But if we do, in best case scenario, and, the public health officials say it's safe to gather, right, and go to football games, there's no way that our, revenue projections remain what we thought they were going to be. We just, that wouldn't be very prudent on our behalf to think otherwise. And there will be people that, still are not comfortable gathering in large groups, even though public health officials say that it is. And there'll be people impacted by the economy that just can't afford a ticket. And so, we're doing our best we can to plan accordingly, and what is our target cost reduction, and how do we get there? So sorry for the long answer.
Is right now a bunch of different, like you have to almost have like a different scenarios if this happens, or was this more of just this is a right now decision?
No, I think it's, Paul, I think it's exactly what you talked about. We've got some different cost reduction models that we're, looking at, and you talk about, hey, this is what we think is best case. This is what we think is moderate case. And then, this is what is worst case, and have two different levels of that. So we're looking at four different, scenarios, and how do we ensure and make sure that, we've got at least some in-depth thought and pathway, and you identify these cost reduction levers and what's the value of each one, and which ones do you have to pull and when do you have to pull them. And so trying to be really systematic about it, and making sure that we're not having to make decisions by the seat of our pants, and that they're well thought out. And we're talking about people's lives and people's ability to continue to do their job at a high level. So trying to just be really thoughtful and systematic about it.
Mac, I read through the full announcement from the university, albeit pretty quickly, and based on what I saw, the Baylor basketball pavilion being deferred until economic conditions improve, although the architectural and planning work will continue. I would imagine the hiring freeze also is athletics-related, although university-wide. Was there anything else in particular athletics-related from what the school put out there today?
No, we're obviously very much just one part, one division, one department of the university, and we're gonna do our part to make sure that we do everything we can to help the university get through this time. And again, this isn't specific to Baylor. This is everybody across the country in terms of higher education. You mentioned the pavilion. I think it's very similar to my comments that I made a week ago, that this idea of hope. And so we're continuing to do all the design and get as far along as we possibly can, so that when we get to a better point in time in terms of the economy, when it's a better time for us to go out and borrow money, then we can do that. And we haven't lost any time, and we're ready to go and move forward. And we'll continue to still talk to donors. And for some, it's probably not a great time, and we know that and understand that. But for others, it's still a good time to have those conversations. And so we're in the process of doing that. And when you think about the economy, the future economy, and the U-shaped curve and the V curve and the L curve, and we're all hoping for best case scenario, and that as we think about the third quarter, things start to improve. And if it's not until the fourth quarter, or not until the first quarter of 2021, or the second quarter of 2021, then we're going to have to adjust accordingly.
What keeps you up at night?
I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know that I'm built that way. I think that if anything does, it's just worried about our people. We'll get through the budget stuff, the numbers, right? I really believe that. I'm at peace with it. We've got, I think, even though there's so much uncertainty, I think we've got clear direction in terms of the different pathways and the different levers and all of those things. And we'll do the best we can. And like I said, I think we'll get through it. I think Baylor, as an institution, Baylor Athletics, is going to be really well positioned as compared to, just the standard as we get through this. But I just worry about our people. I worry about just the change. It's not necessarily, their future. It's just about what they're going through right now, the uncertainty of it, the not being normal, right? The lack of daily interaction with each other, that stuff. I really worry about our people. Obviously the physical health piece because of COVID-19, but also the mental health piece, the spiritual piece. Just praying for them every single night.
We're talking to Mac Rose, Director of Athletics at Baylor University.
To that end, though, on a positive note, Mac, has this kind of brought some of your department closer together as it made everybody? It seems to make everybody really have to look and say, okay, let's figure out what's really what's really important here, and kind of been able to maybe shave off some of the things that you didn't need to worry about?
Yeah, Paul, it's a great question, and I think it maybe makes you refocus a little bit and get back to fundamentals and make sure that we really are spending time on what's most important. And I think in times of crisis, right, it can either divide you as people, as a group, or it can bring you closer together. And I'm grateful. Again, I think it speaks to the staff and the people that we have. I really believe it's bringing us closer together. It's not just our staff, but our student athletes. Even though we're separated physically, I think it's brought us together even more so spiritually, and I think it's been really, really positive in that manner, and grateful to our staff on how they're handling all of it.
I know that there are so many other things to sort out first, but Mac, when you hear some people talk about the potential ideas for a college football season, knowing that everybody's feeling that's something that just has to happen, but everything from no non-conference games to starting in October to perhaps even starting in February, knowing this is not a major concern right now, but how much of a logjam do you fear as far as pushing back to where once everything does get going, all of a sudden everything's underway and there's just this, like I said, a logjam of activity?
Yeah, Craig, I think it's a great point. It's the conversation that we're having right now, and what can we prepare for, right? What can we be thinking about that maybe we wouldn't otherwise be thinking about to make sure there's not this sense of logjam, and hey, this really looks good on paper when we think about timeline of football schedule, but beyond looking good on paper, just the totality of impact that it has on everything, including our other sport programs, right? And so again, trying to be really careful and thoughtful about doing that. And one of the major questions that has to be answered, right, is this idea of, are you bringing student athletes back to campus if no other students are on campus, right? If you're still in online courses throughout summer, right? Can you even bring your student athletes back? And so, trying to figure out that piece of it is obviously, extremely important. When it comes to football, once you bring them back, how much time do they need, and before they're competing at a high level, and there's no safety, health risk issues for them other than just the natural game of football, right? So much stuff that we're talking about, and it's for us, I think it's just trying to get one hurdle at a time. And so I think, the next hurdle is this idea of where does it, where are we as a country, right? Here, the end of April, in terms of the spread of COVID-19, is it still increasing? Is it on the decline, right? If it's on the decline, are there any further projections? So then how does that speak into students coming back to campus for maybe second session summer schools, right? That then, probably impacts when football student athletes are coming back. So having all of that, right? And then finally, when you think about playing a football schedule, and I'm not an expert on this, and I haven't sat there and studied it, but I think I know enough to know that not every state's at the same place in terms of the spread and outbreak of COVID-19. And so I'm not sure every state at the same time is going to be ready to bring people back and for it to be safe and healthy. And so if there's some states, even within your own conference, right, that aren't ready to have people come back in large groups, right, then how do you deal and manage that? And so just so much to think about, so much to talk about, and again, trying to do that in a really, I'll go back to the word systematic way, but trying to do that in the most systematic way that we can.
We know you have plenty on your table. You've been in these meetings, I'm not sure, Zoom or whatever, executive meetings. So when Jovan says jump, do you jump higher than when Jeremiah tells me he tells you to jump?
You know what? I love them both, and I'm afraid of them both equally. so I jump equally high when they ask.
All right. I can't imagine all the things you're dealing with. We appreciate your time, and good luck with it. We do appreciate your time on Tuesdays. You have no idea.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you all, and to our Baylor family out there, just praying for you all. Please stay safe and healthy, and we'll get back to normal and at some point in time, and we'll be better for it. And again, just thoughts and prayers out to everyone.
Thank you. That's Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, on a day when Dr. Livingstone releases the various cutbacks or changes or things that have been put on hold that all make sense across the board in this time. All right, Curt Schilling did respond, and we are going to have him on in an hour. I'd rather do that, Paul, than just have a short segment with him between he and Davion Mitchell. I don't want to have Davion Mitchell having to push back, and the next thing you know, we push back everybody. So Curt Schilling will be at 5:30 today. We'll try to – you want to call McLean? See if he can jump on with us for 5 or 6 minutes before Davion Mitchell or after Nate. Okay.
Yeah, we can do him after Nate.
If he's available. And then John, we could always move John back another day. He's very flexible and great. Craig, your thoughts about anything that Max said?
No,
Did he answer your question about everything being condensed?
I mean, a little bit, and I could have probably asked it a different way. I just worry about, or I don't worry, but I wonder about that logjam I'm referencing is if you were to start a football season in February, that means everything's good to come back. But the problem is you're also then in the midst of a basketball season or having to start that up at the exact same time. So there's 2 more teams. You've also got baseball right around the corner at that point. You've got all your spring sports. Plus, if you're delaying football let's just use a February example, then you're delaying everything. So all of your sport, every single one of your sports would be starting in February and lasting through that spring. Like, how would that even work to have that many events, that many teams, that much planning, that much, facility requirements? I mean, that's where I'm seeing like the logjam coming. Is you're going to want to get all the sports in that you can, but if you're all of a sudden doing it in a very small window, that's just going to be the biggest nightmare. Although I know it's a nightmare they would rather have than the nightmare of not having anything. I understand that, but I'm just looking at it from the point of view of...
I think some sports, and even football, might have to go to what is a shortened schedule. For example, volleyball uses the Farrell Center, but obviously you have the men's basketball team, which is a revenue producer, and the kind of money that, they lose money in women's basketball, but they generate some money too. Well, you're right. The facilities people, that's like, my God. Everything else has their own field, their own court, their own stadium, their own what. But you only have so many people. Remember now, that's one of the reasons they gave up the tailgating, even though that got to be a controversial thing. They just didn't have enough people to handle a lot of what they were doing for home games on Saturdays.
There's also the athletic trainers. I mean, you're going to have them so spread out, actually overlooking real seasons. It's not like, some trainer can do football in the afternoons for spring ball and then get over to, another sport. I mean, I'm sure that would still be done that way somewhat, but I would just think that those trainers have a bit more obligations during the course of the regular season of football that could take them away, even though some of them may be football only. I don't know. It's a mess, but hey, it's a mess that I would be glad to see cleaned up and figured out if that means that we've got sports back. But for right now, that question still lingers, and depending on where you look around the country, if you want to listen to the governor of California, we will never leave our homes ever again. But if you listen to others, there's a feeling that, hey, maybe we can get back to some normalcy by the second half of this year or by sometime midsummer. But, it's whoever you're listening to at the moment.
Well, don't those sports all have different trainers?
Yeah. For the most part, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, they do, so there wouldn't be as much of an overlap. But I would imagine, let's just say you got every single team going at the same time.
But you have team doctors that are from Southwest Sports Medicine and other places. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. By the way, our old friend Nikki Lorenzo lives in works in Sacramento now and has to deal with the governor's office quite a bit as her job as a lead anchor and does a lot of political news there on her station. And I talked to her about Gavin Newsom and the way that he's responded to things, and she said it's a mixed bag about how people in California feel about it. She said that most people in California feel glad that he was a little more out in front than more states were, but he is a guy who reacts to panic.
Yes, that's very clear. Very clear.
And he's also someone who is trying to build up a resume so he can run for president.
Bingo.
Not so much. And the way you do that is just by doing good things at the job you're at, not by doing cool things. But that's I think that's what Gavin's problem is.
Yeah, not to get too political. I mean, and there's a lot of people from all sides that are, using coronavirus as a political tool in many ways. We see it constantly. But he's been a little bit more on the side of perhaps being overly cautious to an extreme when discussing, how long this could last potentially in California. That's already a very interesting state to kind of track anyways, just in terms of their football teams and the Pac-12 and things like that. So it will be very interesting to see the ramifications that come from this.
Yeah, I thought Mac had a really good point about states, going at different paces.
Right.
Because, okay, if in the Big 12, if Iowa wasn't ready to start, you only have one school there, and you might be able to make some arrangements for them because there's only one. But if Texas isn't ready, just like in the Pac-12 if California's not ready, or in the SEC or ACC if Florida's not ready, then that's multiple teams. So if you have one team in a state, maybe you can adjust some things. But again, it's all for one and one for all. That's what it's supposed to be in conference athletics now. So even if you have one, you may not be able to do it.
I heard somebody bring that up the other, weeks ago, actually. Is it, okay, everyone's ready to go, but let's say Colorado is, for whatever reason, not able to go. All right, so that's Mac Rhodes. We appreciate him jumping on what is obviously explain his part of what all this means. Not a surprise. Craig put that up on his Twitter page, at Craig, C-R-A-I-G, Smoak, S-M-O-A-K. When we come back, Davion Mitchell, Baylor guard, tremendous defensive player. One of the things they could do is, they could play defense. He'll join us next. Then Nate Newton. Kurt Schilling at 5:30. Appreciate him coming back to us. And then we'll try to figure out what we do with John McClain in the middle of all of that. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. This show brought to you by the sponsorship of IdealMRI.com. Thanks to Dr. Rob Maxey and all sorts of others, of course, sponsors of this show as it grew today to more sponsors as we want to grow our audience. Spread the word. SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80-20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. Baylor men's basketball. My goodness, what a story it has been, what it was, and then what it could have been. But at the same time, so many memories, so many thrills, and the what if, of course, that we've discussed with Freddie Gillespie, among some others that we've had on the show. And then there's the shutdown guard and Davion Mitchell. He joins us now live from his home in Georgia and with us on SicEm365 Radio. Davion, are you stir crazy? Are you just like, I got to go do something?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I got a little gym down here, so I've been kind of working on my game by myself. So, I mean, I've been pretty busy lately.
Well, okay, you're a defensive wizard, Davion. How do you practice defense when you've got to stay 6 feet apart from people?
Just watching film, man. I mean, I feel like it's more effort than anything. So I just go out there and play my hardest. And then, I mean, I'm a lot faster than a lot of people. So I just use my speed and play with my chest. And that's what makes me a good defender.
Davion, how much of a whirlwind has this been for you personally, this time that we're all going through right now where our lives have changed? But for you, how have you dealt with, orders to stay at home, things like that, and just, a semester where you're expecting to be on campus right now, but instead you guys have been away for a while?
Yeah, it's been pretty hard for me, especially the school-wise, because, it's kind of messed my routine up because I'm usually, ready to go to class and waking up in the morning, going to class and practice, but now I'm on my own time, and sometimes I forget to do homework. I forget that I got class. So it's pretty hard. I mean, but I'm adjusting to it. I mean, we only got a couple weeks left, and my tutors are pretty helping me hard. So, I mean, it's been pretty hard, though.
We've had others, teammates of yours. We had Coach Drew on like a day after the tournament was canceled in Kansas City. We've heard from Freddie Gillespie. We've talked with others. Have you gotten clearance? Are you past what if of what could have happened had you continued to play?
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty past. I mean, we all can say that every team can say they're going to win a national championship, but I feel like we really had a chance, but I mean, we'll never know.
You are someone who spends hours and hours in the gym all the time. You were your team was kind of famous for that this year. How many hours a day do you spend? I mean, you said you're spending a lot. Do you spend more now than you were before, or is it still about the same?
No, it's definitely less. I mean, usually I'm in the gym 3 times a day when I'm even at Baylor. Even when I'm not even working on my game, I'm upstairs watching film with DAs and something like that. But now it's just it's not that much time. I can't really put enough time into it just because I'm not in a system, so it's kind of hard for me.
Davion, what is a life lesson, perhaps a quote or just a story he relayed, but what's something that Scott Drew has passed along that is something you will take with you as a man moving forward in life, a lesson of sorts?
Coach Drew always big on just working hard. Like, I mean, if you work hard, I mean, it'll show, the results will show. So, I mean, he always talks about it like we should be in the gym. Like, even when the season was going, he said we should be in the gym this amount of hours. And even though we got practice the next day, he still wants to be in the gym. So that's what I really like about Coach Drew. I mean, no matter what, like what, he wants to get better. He don't want you to just be resting or something like that. He just wants everybody to get better. So I think that's what made our team a lot better too, because just coming from the head coach, everybody looking like, all right, yeah, we got to work on our game. And then, I mean, it all worked out because everybody started being in the gym more.
You are a close-knit team. That doesn't mean you guys didn't have moments, but that's all you ever heard about was how close this team was. And you remained that way when it was great, and you even remained that way from what we've been told when things started to slip a little bit at the end. How much do you just miss being around your teammates?
Man, it's hard because, I mean, even after practice sometimes we'll just sit in the locker room just talk and just we all as a teammate just talking. And I mean, I just miss being around them, man. Having those fun moments, even during the bad times in practice when we were getting yelled at by coaches. I miss those times, but it's been pretty hard for everyone. And we did a group FaceTime the other day, the coaches and the team, and we was just all laughing and having a good time. So it's been pretty hard for everyone.
We had Macy on last week. He is, throwing his hat in the ring for the NBA draft, and obviously we'll see what happens there. But even though he may or may not, he may be moving on, you have a couple other guards coming up in Adam Flagler and Jordan Turner. What can you tell us about their game?
They're really good guards. I mean, I'm start with Adam. I knew Adam before because he's from Georgia, so I already kind of knew him a little bit. I mean, I just watched him get better each and every day and making us better. Like, we made him better, and he made us a lot better because in the scout team, he used to do what he do, and we used to just try to make it hard for him. But I feel like he's going to, even if Maceo leaves, he's going to step up. He's going to make big shots just like Maceo did. And even LJ, the freshman guard, I think he's going to be pretty good. And Jordan's been working on his game a lot, getting bigger, stronger, and faster. So I think it'll help us, especially on the defensive end, because he's so long and he get rebounds and he loves playing aggressive. So, and also, I mean, they just want to win. Like, both of them don't want to be selfish, so they just want to be team players, and they'll do anything to win.
Have you seen that mindset creep over the team defensively, that this is not something that we just saw this past year because of personnel, but this is going to be a trademark of Baylor basketball moving forward, playing the stingy defense you guys play?
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially with the coaching staff. I mean, they're really big on defense, especially that we've shown that we can really play defense and not just play zone all the time. So I think it's gonna be a forever thing. So Baylor always gonna have a great defensive team.
Davion Mitchell, when you're about to play anybody, I don't care if it was Kansas or it was a team that you played in non-conference, a team that was losing 5 in a row or a team that had won a bunch in a row. Was there ever a time, and how often in your life when you play basketball have you faced somebody where you were a little bit nervous about whether you could handle him defensively?
No, not one person. I was nervous. I don't care who it was. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I was never nervous. I mean, it was a couple times where it's going to be like, I know it's going to be pretty hard, but I know I can stop this person, but other than that, no, I was never nervous of guarding someone.
All right, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. Not the other three guys on the floor, notwithstanding, whoever they may be. But if you and Vital are on the floor at the same time, is that going to probably be the best defensive lineup in the country?
For sure, no question. I mean, Mark is crazy on defense, man. He taught me a lot of things. Even Freddie taught me a lot of things. I mean, but Mark is just ridiculous, man. I'm just trying to be just like him on the defensive end.
How much did his injury hurt you guys? I know Maceo had the wrist, and then, of course, Tristan was dealing with constant things with his knees, and, of course, Mark had his knees or ankles, and, how much did that kind of start slowing you guys down, and did you feel like you had gotten kind of that decompression, refreshed feeling going into the Big 12 tournament?
Oh, you talking about Mark injury?
Yeah, but when Vital went down against TCU, and how much did that start wearing on you guys a little bit, Vital? And then, of course, Tristan couldn't play much at all, and then Macio's wrist.
I mean, it definitely hurt us a lot. I mean, especially Mark, starting with Mark, we felt that on the court against Texas Tech, we wasn't they were out rebounding us, and we were scoring a lot of points, and they were scoring a lot of points, and usually it don't happen like that. So usually we got Mark to shut people down and get us a couple possessions on defense. And even when Tristan went out, it was really hard for us, especially because West Virginia, we was in foul trouble, and we didn't really have no other big, and we were in West Virginia like to bang it inside, so we didn't really have nobody big to step up because we knew Tristan would step up because Tristan always step up in those big moments. And who else was hurt? Oh, Maceo, yeah. After Maceo got hurt, it was kind of surprising because we just had a really good game. Everyone had a really good game. So when he stepped out, I mean, we played the best game of our lives, but we was just lucky, honestly, because without Maceo, he a big part of our team, hitting those big shots, making those big plays. I mean, he's an older guy, so he gets the ball in crunch time and he makes the right decisions for our team.
Last question, Paul. Go ahead, Craig.
Davion, do you think the average fan out there understands just how much Tristan Clark was going throughout the season and coming back from the injury? You know, everybody's rooting for him and wanting him to play at the top of his game in the way we saw him play a couple years ago. But, I mean, you guys got to see the work that he put in. Is it can you kind of give us a viewpoint from your guys' side of things of just how hard Tristan was working to get right?
Yeah, Tristan was working hard all the time, even in the morning time. I used to see him come in the gym, and, I mean, I seen him work so hard. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that, I mean, he had to go through that. I mean, but it's harder for big men like the 6'11" with knee injuries. Like, I feel bad for him, but, I mean, I know he was going to get through it. I mean, he's a strong guy. I mean, he always kept us up. He always been a leader on our team, no matter what, no matter if he was playing or not. He was always trying to be the loudest person on the team. He never brought anybody down, so we're just blessed to have Tristan on our team. And I know next year he's going to come out going crazy because I know he's working hard because he always worked hard. So I just can't wait to see him next year.
Can you almost like just taste next season? Is it like we don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to ever get back to normal, if ever it does? But can you almost like just burst out of your body? You want to play basketball against somebody else right now?
Yeah, I remember the last week, or I think it was last week, where it was supposed to be the Final Four. I mean, I remember everybody in the group text would be like, "Yeah, we're supposed to be here." So I just can't wait till next year. I mean, I know everybody hyped. I mean, hopefully we get to play next year, man. That's what I'm just hoping for.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Davion. Continue to do what you do. Stay safe. Enjoy downtime. And yet again, I know that's frustrating you like it is so many other people. From Hinesville, Georgia, Liberty County High School, and, of course, a transfer from Auburn, Baylor guard Davion Mitchell. We appreciate your time on SicEm365 Radio. All right, that roster, when you look at all the different places from guys who had been everywhere and how they were able to mesh together, a credit to the staff, a credit to Coach Drew and Coach Tang and Charlie Melton and everybody else in between. All right, it's 4:56. Coming up next, the big, happy, not so big, but very happy, Nate Newton, Kurt Schilling, 5:30. This is SicEm365 Radio. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa Drap Son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate at 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor trying to go 6-0. Hasty to the end zone. Touchdown! Baylor wins in double overtime!
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. When life is stressful, there's an ideal solution. Ideal MRI. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, here we go, this 5 o'clock hour. How else can you start an hour than with the great Nate Newton, former Cowboys offensive lineman, all-pro offensive lineman, very much involved in analyzing the Cowboys, and a great friend of the show with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and I'm David Smoak. Nate Newton, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Great to hear y'all's voice. Now, how are things going for y'all? Are y'all isolated?
Well, we're practicing that distancing as we host the show in the temporary studios. But yeah, pretty much. I think I'm probably a little bit more out and about than these two youngins. But right, I'm being smart. I got disinfectant wipes and wash my hands and do all the stuff in between.
Oh, okay. All right. Because when is the picture you and Dak earlier?
Hey, I tell you what. I don't think I was at that party. I'm not. I'm not that pay grade. I don't think I was.
Okay.
Nate, how difficult is it? Do you think the draft is in 9 or 10 days and there were not many pro days, and of course there's so many things that are missing between now and the draft, and you're an undrafted guy that turned out to be a fantastic player. How is it you think teams are going about their business to try to make these decisions right now?
Except for the personal visits that these guys get with the being able to bring in a limited amount of players from around the country, and you, as we all know, as long as they're in your region, you can bring in as many as you want. But you get 20-something picks where you get guys coming to your facilities. To me, it shouldn't be a big deal because you had an idea of some of these guys. When I talk to scouts, some of these guys they've been looking at for over a year. They've been on their radar. They've been to the Senior Bowl. They've been to the scouting combine. So they got a chance to touch a lot of these guys and interview a lot of these guys. Now, you know, the picks that you're really clamoring over, guys that you're really clamoring over, you're going to miss that one last visit where you can bring them in, have a personal talk with them, maybe work out with them, or you may go out and look at them one more time. But, Smoke, it still comes down to basically, can you play football? What does your tape show me? How does it translate into our system? Are you the kid for us? You can still call the trainers. You can still call the equipment guys. That's a lot of scouts do their basic work with talking with trainers, building a relationship with trainers, and building a relationship with equipment guys. Those are the guys that get to see you more than coaches. So they're not missing much. The scary thing for these guys is when the day of the draft, with all of this technology, oh man, the Cowboys are picking at 17. Who they really like, and we're picking at 21. Can we get something to get a jump on them because they may want our guy? That's a little scariness, that the unknown that everybody's thinking about. But these players, they know who they want, and they've had enough contact to know if that's the player for them or not.
Nate, you guys had to, and on those great teams in the 90s, had to swap out centers when Mark Stepnoski left and Ray Donaldson came in. Obviously, Travis Frederick retires. That's a big loss for the offensive line. Do you think the Cowboys are set up to deal with it right now? Yes,
with Joe Looney, we fall right back into place with Looney. So we have a center. The deal is now our depth will be tested. Can the kid McGovern from a year ago that had the injury out of Penn State, I think it was our 3rd or 4th round pick, can he come in and be a good backup at center? Can he come in and be a good backup at guard? You drafted him high enough as a lineman. When you draft linemen, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round, these are plug and play type guys. You should feel good enough about this kid, that it may take him a couple of games to have to put him in there for him to get adjusted to the speed and the power of the game. But once he mentally gets adjusted to that, he should be all right. So I feel we're okay on the offensive line as we stand right now.
Were you surprised at all by his announcement? I mean, obviously, he had some health complications that had derailed his career a bit, but were you surprised when he actually just flat out retired like that?
No, not with the statement he gave me. Yeah. Once he gave me the statement, like, I have a standard that I am going to play by. Not a standard of whether you think I'm good enough as a coach, as a scout, as a fan, but I have a standard. He started out the season kind of below average. By the middle of the season, he was an above average player. And by the end of the season, he was playing at a good clip. Not the clip that we were used to, but the clip that he could have played in this league. If they had drafted him 3rd or 4th round, he'd have still been playing in the league at where he finished the season at last year.
Nate, you're seeing players now leave the game earlier. A lot of it might be because they're making more money. A lot of it might be because they're concerned about what is out there when it comes to concussions, or maybe just, that it's different. When did you know, and how difficult is it to come to grips that it's no longer something you play at the level, the standard that you played at?
I knew because I couldn't play anymore. It was simple for me. I went, mine was not a gradual drop-off. I went from being a Pro Bowl, all-pro type guy to just couldn't play, my friend. I mean, I lived such a hard and good life. Now, it ain't good now for me, but I lived such a hard and good life at that time, fellas, it just hit me like I just fell off a cliff. But once you realize it, and things have been good in your life, and you've kind of been, taken care of, and your money's kind of in line, you kind of get out of it, and you're okay. And you feel okay. Frederick feels okay. Don't get me wrong, when the season cranks up, it ain't going to be with this virtual reality playbooks and all this, but when the season cranks up, now, he's going to have some itches. He's going to have some, man, maybe I did this too soon. But he's far enough along in this development far as when he didn't play that year, came back and played last year. Now they have all these things going. He got all these charities, all these other things to fill his life. That is the big deal. Can you fill your life without football? Well, you've been, since you was a Pop Warner guy, a segment of your life, at least 6 months of your life, has been told to you what to do. Okay, it's practice time. It's meeting time. It's game time. And if you start this process over and over, you got to get in shape. So for 6 months out of for ever since you was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and some guys, their life's been in a certain order. But once that stops, when you become a pro and you get that 4th or 5th year in, and somebody either tell you or due to injury or whatever, say, hey, you can't play anymore. What do you do to feel that life? Some guys can make that adjustment. Some guys can't.
Nate, we're teammates with Jason Garrett. He's out the door on his way. He's at New York as the offensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy comes in. Your thoughts on the transition and how the Cowboys deal with that, and what you know about Mike McCarthy so far?
This is what I hope and pray, is that Mr. Jones and Mr. Stephen Jones and Will McClay and all of that staff that helps draft the players and put things in place, I hope that they step all the way back. And whatever Coach McCarthy says goes. When they want the plane to take off, when they want the plane to land, when they want them to change stocks, when they want them to meet at night, who plays, who don't play, when they get in trouble, let the coach delegate the authority of what's happening. If you're going to change the culture to a winning culture, it can only be one chief. There can only be one commander-in-chief, and that has to be your head coach. That has to be your head coach. Coach McCarthy has a great offensive mind. What I gather from him and listening to him talk, what he want to change about what happened to him in Green Bay is he want to have a little more say on how well his defense does. Because if he can get his defense to play well with the weapons that we have and the weapons that we make him get in free agency and in the draft, our offense should be more than okay. But it's not going to matter how great your offense is unless you have some semblance of a defense that can get off the field on third downs or get turnovers at appropriate times in games.
Nate, how did you guys live so hard and play so well?
It was the sign of the times. I saw my mother and father work hard all their lives. I saw, but we had parties, we partied hard. And that's how we were brought up, Smoak. We worked hard, we partied hard, and they never intermingle. They never intermingle. If we played hard, we worked hard. And that's the issue today. Everybody wants to play hard, but not work hard. Nobody wants to prepare to get ready to be the best. And kids are not hungry now. You mentioned earlier, or one of you guys mentioned earlier, kids are so much more smarter now with their money and with their second careers. To now, it's all about the brand. Hey man, I just made $7 million in 1 year. I'm going over. I got a master's degree in business from this school. I'm going over here. I'm gonna flip this $7 million here in 2 years into $25 million. I don't think I'm gonna get hit today. And that is great. That is great. That just puts more pressure, ownership, on the scouting department to go out and get players that love football, and that's gonna sell these sold football as well as for the stock market, or as well as for going out and buying 7 QTs, 8 or 9 radio stations. It's all right to invest your money to make more, but you make more as a star, as a football player. Ask Tom Brady. You make more. Aaron Rodgers, you make more. You make more as a football player because people want to be a part of sports. You see how our world is now without sports? Mm-hmm. People want sports. They love it. And if you're smart enough to invest your money the way some of these kids are, and to triple and double your money in 3 and 4 years, don't leave football. Enhance it even more.
Nate, did you get a vibe off the Cowboys locker room that, because you were on teams that won and you knew how to win, right, that this team, even though they got a lot of guys that are leaders, maybe they act like they've won something before they have? That
is because they're allowed to feel that way. you can't stop these kids. This is the thing about it. How, you can't. When I played, if a cat made $500,000 a year, we were doing flips. We were considered rich. And at that time, I guess we were rich. But now, you talking to a kid that if he hit at the right time in free agency, this kid can go from $400,000 a year to $15 million in a heartbeat, over 2 or 3 years. So this kid thinks he's arrived. Nobody's going to tell him he's not. His agent's not going to tell him he's not. His mother and father's not going to tell him he's not, because 9 times out of 10, he's taking care of all the things people. So it's just the nature of the beast. You got to find that level-headed kid. You got to go out when you draft. You got to find that great athlete that's level-headed, that care about football, that care about how he handles his business. And it's getting harder and harder each year. It's getting harder and harder each year.
Nate, we had Barry Switzer on with us yesterday at about...
Great man.
Yeah,
great man.
24 hours ago, he was a part of the show. He told me in the NFC Championship game, when you guys fell behind 21-0 to San Francisco with all the stuff that happened, it was 5 minutes into the game. He gathered some people together. Maybe you were in that group. I thought he mentioned you. And he said, do you know what is good about being down 21-0 5 minutes into the game? And he said, I thought he mentioned, he said, there's 55 minutes left for us to come back, which you absolutely very close did. What was that like that day? It just seemed like everything that could go wrong, and yet you guys showed the championship medal to get back in it.
You know what, man? If our offensive line included my big, fat, greasy, stinking, barbecue eating behind would have played better, we would have won the game. You understand what I'm saying? Offensive line and defensive line still control games. And we did not control the game as an offensive line. Their defensive line played better with Brian Young, Dana Summerfield, all those stinking greasy guys. I hate it, man. Don't bring that up ever again.
Hey, Barry Switzer basically started the show with every play-by-play, and we didn't even bring it up. All right, now, you guys obviously had an amazing success, and everyone knows that the best players were the best leaders. How rare is that in this day and age, or even back then, that your best players were also the ones that set the standard in the way you practiced and worked out during the season or even in the off season?
You know what? See, that is what Coach Johnson had. That is what Bill Parcells had. That is what Brian Belichick had. That is what the better coaches, that is what Pete Carroll has. Now, all of these coaches have the same thing. They know how to connect. They know how to go out and get that best out of players. All of them do it basically a different way. But they know how to connect the players. They know what type of players they want. They're seeking players with that little bit of oomph, that little bit of stuff in them, and they seem to find those guys. And that's what Jimmy was great at, was bringing guys together, trying to. And he told me one time, he said, I knew Troy Aikman had a great arm, Nate, but I just wanted to know, did he have a drive? Did he have the will to want to be great? A lot of guys don't understand about being great. When I first walked in the league, I didn't understand about being great. It probably cost me a Hall of Fame and a couple of All-Pros, because it took me a while to understand what a professional is, a guy who lives his job and is relentless in trying to make sure he's the best at all times. I didn't do that. A lot of other guys on my team did that, and that's why they're in the position they're in. So when coaches see they got a guy that's consumed with trying to be the best he can be and not going to mess that up, coaches gravitate to that. And if you get enough players seeing that this coach wants that and he demands that, and you got enough players on your team, you'll need four of them. 2 on defense, 2 on offense. That care, and that's going to speak up, and that plays at a level that he shows you through his play that anything less is not acceptable.
Nate, it's great to have you on. It's great to hear your voice. Can't wait to see you. Hopefully whenever they do progress to being somewhat normal, look forward to seeing you, hopefully even at training camp or even before then. Thanks for your time so much for being a part of this brand new launch of what we've been doing for the last week or so. and we appreciate you.
Hey, man, God bless all three of you guys, man. And, man, just don't bring up that 49ers thing again, bro. Do I never come on again?
I will never.
Deal.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
That's Nate Newton. Golly. And being around him is so much fun. And you hear it right there in his voice. When we come back, John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, a little bit about as we head now 9 days before the NFL draft, 5:30, former Red Sox, Phillies, Diamondbacks, Astros pitcher Curt Schilling. This is SicEm365 Radio. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion. And I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Thanks to Nate Newton. Curt Schilling coming up next. Hall of Fame writer from the Houston Chronicle, John McClain, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. John, thanks for your time. Appreciate you being a part of it. How anything changed with what we've talked about before with the draft? Nate was just talking about one of the biggest differences about preparing for the draft is the fact that those personal opportunities to meet somebody at your facility or one-on-ones is what might kind of hurt a little bit. How much do you think that plays into what happens this year with this draft?
Under the same restrictions, you can talk to a guy for up to an hour on Zoom if you want to. You can have him diagramming plays. Truth is, if you're in a room with him, he's going to be at a grease board and you're going to be at a table with other people in there. Now it's just the coach or the general manager or the scouting director, and they can talk to him. I remember Gary Kubiak, when he coached the Texans, said he went to the combine for the 15-minute meetings with 60 players. He wanted to ask them questions, look them in the eye, see how they carried themselves. He said you can get everything else, including interviews, sent to you, including workouts, and you've got every play a player played in college. But he said, I wanted to be able to look them in the eye and based on experience and what I was looking for, judge them like that. Well, you can still do that. You're just doing it on a computer instead of face-to-face, but really it's still kind of face-to-face. Everybody's used to working on a computer. Before all of this coronavirus restrictions, people use their computers at home. Every coach, player, general manager had a setup. Now they're more elaborate, and I'm sure with the draft coming and everybody having a camera at their house, their home office is going to be a lot cleaner.
John, the Texans sent a second-round pick to the Rams for Brandon Cooks. Your thoughts on that deal? And does Bill O'Brien just not value the draft as much?
No, Bill O'Brien wanted a receiver, Brandon Cooks, who was a veteran. He's 26 years old. Last year, he had a career-low 42 catches. He missed 2 games with concussions. Only 2 games he's missed. He missed 1 3 years ago. He's been very durable. From 2018 and 17, he went to the Super Bowl. He had great seasons with the Rams and the Patriots. And in that 4-year period, 15, 16, 17, 18, he averaged 77 catches, 1,080 yards, and 7 touchdowns, 1,180 yards and 7 touchdowns. He doesn't turn 27 until the end of September. So they're hoping they get the Brandon Cooks of 2018. And that second-round pick, 57, they wouldn't use that on a receiver. They would have used the 40th pick on a receiver. And the problem you have with rookies today, these rookies get no on-field coaching, no off-season program. They don't get a rookie mini camp. They don't get to go on the field for OTAs. So a lot of those guys could be developing slower. And I'm eager to see how many guys, as we get to the draft and in the draft, how many teams trade picks this year for next year, when players hopefully will be able to undergo a full off-season program, which will expedite their learning process. They still have 7 picks, and I think that Bill O'Brien, Trader Bill, I call him, he'll be making some more deals.
We've already seen Matt Rule make a lot of changes there with the Carolina Panthers. And, John, I did see some of the chatter about, I wonder what they'll do with Christian McCaffrey. He's a running back. You know the stereotype about running backs. Well, yesterday they make him the highest-paid running back in the NFL. Your thoughts on that deal?
Right now, they're one of the worst teams in the league. How long will it take Matt Rule to turn around that team? If it takes 3 years, then McCaffrey will be a 6-year veteran on a big contract. He weighs 200 pounds. He takes a beating. He was on the field for 94.1% of their snaps. So he could be having his best years for a bad team. He could get beaten up because he touches the ball so much and he's small. But he is the face of the franchise. They're paying Teddy Bridgewater $21 million for a guy that has been an off-and-on starter. So they've taken some chances. But most teams don't build around running backs anymore. They build around a quarterback, a left tackle, a corner, one receiver.
You know, it's interesting. The NFL, John, can you imagine, are they actually going to get more? Will they get more for their draft coverage the way it's going to be this year than if it was live in like in Vegas? As far as
Well, what else?
sponsorship?
Because it's such a captive audience, I would imagine, and because the audience, it may be the best ratings they've ever had. I saw yesterday ABC is going to carry it live along with ESPN NFL Network. They don't have anything else, and I think the networks will do a great job. They're used to having a host in a studio. This time he'll be at home and throwing it to Paul Catalina in Tallahassee. Let's go to Craig Smoak at College Station, David Smoak at Michigan. So they're used to all that. That's not going to be the problem. They run features on players constantly. They have all the talking heads like Mel Kiper. So that won't be any big deal to me. What you hope is not a glitch at a coach or general manager's home. I thought it was interesting. A couple of GMs said they have to put in landlines at their house because they just use cells. I've always had a landline in case something happens to the cell, but being able to go through every round without a glitch would be a miracle. But I think we're all fascinated to see how they pull it off, and I can't wait. It doesn't bother me at all not to see some guy walk on a stage with a fake hug with Roger Goodell. They pose for pictures. And what I can't wait to see is they've told all these 58 players who are going to have cameras in their house, practice social distancing. You can only have 6 people in there. But when so-and-so gets drafted, like say Denzel Mims goes in the first round higher than maybe he thinks, you think his family and is not going to be all over him and his friends with wild emotional displays? Of course they are. And there's nothing the NFL can do about it. There's not anything. Did you see the soccer player who was fined $187,000 for leaving his house to visit a friend, and yet they're not going to do anything to Dak Prescott for having a party for 30 or doing those workouts where he's got his arms around the other guys? You know, the NFL says this stuff, but they're not going to penalize anybody, certainly not guys being drafted and showing emotional display with their families and friends.
John, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
SicEm, right?
SicEm.
There you go.
That's right. There we go.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle Hall of Fame writer. When we come back, and we're staying here, Paul's going to get that set up. We're going to hear from Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling, who pitched for the Orioles, the Astros, the Phillies. Yeah, that's the right number. Diamondbacks, and, of course, the Red Sox. He was the one that was on that World Series team. He won the World Series 3 different times. Won a World Series with the Diamondbacks and won it twice as a pitcher with the Red Sox. 6-time All-Star, World Series MVP, and so much more.
I did want to pass along on the Cowboys, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. We were just talking about that. We hadn't mentioned it on the show today, but Stephen Jones was on the radio in Dallas, and he also was talking about, Dak and Zeke being in pictures, the party at Dak's place over the weekend, and they said, we certainly communicated with Dak and Zeke, and I think they're certainly aware now of how sensitive these situations are. I don't think you'll be seeing that anymore. They are guys we have the utmost respect for, and I know they understand the sensitivity of the situation we're in, and so they're basically saying, we've talked to them.
Yeah, and Dak has a statement. We'll release that, or we'll read that to you in just a second. We're thrilled to have Curt Schilling, 3-time World Series champion with, of course, the Red Sox the last couple of years in 2004 and then in 2007, who has his own talk show, national talk show, with us on SicEm365 Radio. And Curt, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to defer the first question. I'd love to ask you the first one, but Paul Catalina will let him salivate. He's a lifelong Red Sox fan. And have you on. So, Paul, you start with Curt Schilling. Thank you very much for being a part of the show, Curt.
Curt, I have
my pleasure. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Curt. I prepared several dissertations on this, but I'll pare it down. It's
not like we're going anywhere.
Yeah, true.
What did it mean to those guys in 2004 to collectively take the sadness away from an entire city and region?
Wow, you're going to open with a heavy one, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't describe it. What I can tell you is that we knew what we did, but we didn't know what we did until the parade. Oh my God, our World Series honestly was the Yankee series. coming back and winning that series. And I mean, we went into, and no disrespect whatsoever to the Cardinals, because that was a really good team, but we didn't think they could beat us in a game, much less in the series. And it was almost not anticlimactic for us, but like, it didn't hit us. I think it first hit me when we flew home that night, because we flew home. We got home at like 7 a.m. the next morning in Boston, and we were driving from the airport to the stadium. It was like a Monday morning, or I don't remember. It was a work day, and Boston traffic was stopped between the airport and our stay in Fenway, and people were out of their cars on the freeway, waving at the bus. Like it was surreal. And then we got to the stadium, and it was tons of people. And then, we had the parade a couple days later, and it was one of the biggest parades in history. There was like 3 million people, and it was like a 4-hour Who concert. Well, none of us had been here and grown up here, right? I mean, I don't think there was any born and raised Boston people on the club, except for maybe, the clubhouse guys and guys like that who obviously knew what it meant. But I think it was too big for us to take in. I mean, we knew we did something great. We did something special. It was awesome. And for us, for the 25 guys, it was great for us. But I don't think we knew what it meant till the parade. And then for me, the highlight for me was watching all of the videos on YouTube of the bars in Boston and around the country of the final out. And real, I get chills now just talking about it, because every great memory I have ever had in the game has to do with the fans. And so seeing that was pretty special.
Did it make it more special because of what you guys were able to do to come back from 3-0 down against the Evil Empire?
I mean, yeah. That's the answer to that question before you ask. You're a Boston fan. Like, that was like, here's what I tell people now, and especially Yankee fans. No matter what you do or what you say, I don't care how many you win, you will always be the author of the biggest choke in baseball history. So I'm good.
Kurt, those teams,
and you always have that over them.
Yeah. No matter how many championships they've
doesn't
won.
matter.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't matter.
Yep.
No. Biggest chokers ever.
Was the candle lit for that season, though, when you guys got in the fight with the Yankees, with Veritek and A-Rod?
No, you know what? That's one of those things that takes on a life of its own off the field. Now the clubhouse much more so than in. I mean, we were fired up. That whole day was just surreal. And we had a couple. I mean, we played them 19 times. And this, I would argue, I don't know since the 70s that the Red Sox Yankees has ever been better than it was in the early 2000s. I mean, we didn't like them, and they didn't like us. But the hatred was in the grandstands. The fans hated each other, which made it fun. But that game was us, like, in a sense, making sure the baseball world knew we were dead serious, number one. But I really honestly believe that we hit our stride the day we traded and got we traded Nomar. We got Orlando and Mankiewicz and Dave Roberts. I mean, I really felt like once that happened, we took off.
Can you try to describe what is a thrower, a guy that is young and just throws, and then becoming a pitcher? And how did that kind of mix with your career, becoming a guy that throws heat, and then all of a sudden you grow up, I'm not saying you weren't mature, but becoming a guy that has everything?
Well, I think you look at, to put it in today's terms, Noah Syndergaard is still a little bit of a thrower. I mean, he's a top of the rotation stuff guy. But he still throws more than he pitches. I would tell you, I know it sounds funny, but Bartolo Colon in the last couple years of his career, he pitched, and so there's a big difference. And a thrower in the big leagues has control. He can throw strikes, and for the most part, everybody in the big leagues can throw strikes. A pitcher has command, and by command, I mean, for me, command became when I could manipulate the ball around and in and out of the strike zone. It wasn't about throwing strikes; it was about throwing quality strikes. And there's a huge difference. When you're a thrower, your fastball is a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. When you're a pitcher, your 97-mile-an-hour fastball is 6 different pitches. It's down and away, down and in, middle out, up and in. And as you get older, you start to understand. And I think
I'll tell you what, a huge part of the learning curve for me was coming up in the National League and hitting and realizing how damn hard it was. It was never the fastball guys. Like, my first hit in the big leagues, my first at bat in the big leagues, I singled up the middle off Rob Dibble. All right? And Rob Dibble was as bad as they come. Charlie Liebrandt, who couldn't break a pane of glass, made me look like a 4-year-old child at the plate. It was. He threw me 3 straight changeups, and it was like the Bugs Bunny cartoon. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. It was embarrassing. But hitting in the National League showed me a lot of things that I would have not known otherwise, and I think that was huge for me.
Obviously, you had stuff. So right now, they would look at you as a scout and be like, okay, this guy has got some heat. How hard is it going to be for guys in the future now that are not 95-mile-an-hour guys to get their shot?
Well, it is and it isn't, because if you pay attention to scouting these days, a lot of the new age Ivy League kids coming in and relying really heavily on sabermetrics, they're doing so in college as well, right? So if your peripherals, if your whip and your strikeout to walk ratio and all those things are incredible, then you're a pitch. You know what I'm saying? Velocity is clearly, everybody throws 95 now, it seems like. That's the big thing. And if you look at all these throwing camps, it's all about getting you to throw harder. And I played with guys who threw 100 and never sniffed the big leagues. At some point you have to learn how to pitch. And, that's what good pitching coaches do. And they get done. They can translate. They can make pitchers understand the difference between throwing and pitching. And if I look at my career, it turned around the day I met Johnny Padres, who turned me into a pitcher and made me understand the power and the excellence of the fastball down and away. And once you understand the fastball down and away is the best pitch in the game, everything else falls into place.
How much of a disruption, and we're all being disrupted in our lives right now, but with spring training getting cut off the way that it did and no sign in sight for a season, although baseball's trying to get back to things, but for a pitcher, how disruptive is that, getting geared up for the upcoming season only to have it shut down and potentially have to keep in mind that you could be playing again sooner rather than later?
Yeah, it's far harder for pitchers than position players, and I say that because as a pitcher every year I went through different stages, and so there was the long toss. My 8 weeks of long toss before I got on the mound, that was a level of stress on the arm. Then I would get on the mound, throw my first bullpen, and that would up the level of stress a little bit. And then when I went to spring training and I threw my first bullpen, that would up the level of stress a little bit more. And then when I pitched my first game, that would up the level of stress a little bit more. All of those things had to happen for me to push my body harder and harder. And then, my last start in spring training where I would throw 100 pitches, I would push myself to the level of, that's everything I could do to get ready for opening day. I needed that. Pitchers need that. That's not going to change. And if you have a hyped, abbreviated spring training, you will have a multitude of injuries. I still don't think they're going to play, and it's disappointing. But I just don't see how it's going to be possible, because you can do what they're talking about, the Arizona thing, and that would be great. But you're going to have a lot of guys, kind of huffing and puffing about being away from their family for 4 or 5 months. But even getting past that, you think about the tens of millions of dollars it would take to set up that whole thing. And day one, what happens when the first player tests positive?
Yeah.
It all goes away. It's so delicate because that's how we're treating it. I'm not saying that's how it should be, but that's what's going to happen. You're going to put, 700 or 800 players in Arizona, seclude them and sequester them in hotels, and keep, all the money that causes. And on day 3, when a player shows up and tests positive, then what? It all goes down. Because, so I don't know if you guys saw it, but in Japan a couple weeks ago, they're going through spring training, and they're getting near the end of camp, and one of the teams had 3 players test positive. They had to quarantine that team for 14 days. They couldn't do anything. That's what we're looking at here, right? Because nobody is underreacting. There are a lot of people overreacting, but to find that fine line, and I got to tell you, the liability issues alone seem to be staggering to me.
Kurt, you have, in the modern day of pitchers, the 19th century pitchers, you have the second highest jaws, and that, of course, is wins. And you're 11 and 3 in the postseason.
2.
11-2.
Make sure you get that right.
Don't give me an extra one.
Hey, I'm sorry. And then, of course, your record, the World Series, the moments, Game 6 against the Yankees, all of the things you've done. Do you feel like because you're outspoken that you're not in the Hall of Fame?
I know. That's why. I mean, that is why. They've said it. I mean, the people that haven't voted for me that have written articles have said that they don't like me as a person. And you know what? That's 100% their prerogative. They don't like me as a conservative and the things that I say, and then they make stuff up. I mean, they've created this narrative. Let's put it this way: I've been openly called and dismissed as, oh my God, he's a racist. I mean, just off the cuff. I've never said a racist thing in my life, ever. I don't have a racist bone in my body. I played in the most the sport with more different people from different backgrounds than any other sport in the world. I would imagine over 22 years, if I was racist, if I was John Rocker, that would have come out. But it's what they choose to do. And that's honestly why I've never lost 1 second of sleep. Not one.
Okay.
Kurt, we as the media, we've talked about this with a bunch of people over the years who do this radio show. We ask people to be their true selves, and then when they are, we're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You ask people to be their true selves, and if their true self is something you don't like, you rip them. I got a great one for you. I got traded to Arizona in 2000, and the first week I was there, this guy wrote an article about Matt Williams and what an a-hole he was because he never talked to the media and he was quiet. And it was just ripping him. 2 weeks later, the same writer writes an article about me not being able to shut up. and I laughed about it, but I also said to the guy, I said, so what's the win for you? What are we supposed to do? Is there a middle ground? Are we supposed to just talk enough for you to get your story? And, I said, and I used a couple different words, choice words, but point was, it helped me understand that, and it's always made my career much easier, is that I don't care what they write and think because they're going to write. They're human beings. The writers like Jason Stark and Tim Kirchin, good people that know me, and my family and my friends know me. People that have never met me, they only know what people write. And you know what? My dad always told me, don't ever live your life to impress people you don't know.
That's hard to do. That's really, it's so hard to do.
But I can tell you this, honest to God, I've done it for the last 30 years of my life. I sleep really good.
Yeah.
I do. And I can look at my kids and tell them, oh, you know what? I made a mistake here. I did this here. I played during the steroids era and I didn't cheat. I won. And I can, for all the faults of a Christian, which I have many, being a bad person isn't one of them. And so I can sleep pretty soundly at night knowing that people, by the way, you're talking about in the media, and I don't mean this personally to you guys, but I've known the media my entire life. They have every bit the moral, abject idiots that any other profession has. And I'm going to worry about them passing judgment on me? Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it seemed like it's you're either one side or the other this day, and if you're not, you're hated by one side or the other. Craig?
Kurt, we had a question on the text line here, the infamous bloody sock game. Did you feel any pain during that, or was that just all adrenaline?
Yes.
Both, yeah.
I mean, I it hurt, but I don't know. Something I was always able to do was to focus, and my foot hurting didn't have anything to do with me making pitches in my mind. Mm-hmm. So I was focused on executing the pitch and executing the game plan, and I had enough medication injected, before and during the game that. The only thing I vividly remember is about in the fourth or fifth inning, I leaned back on my right foot where the batting goal. And you ever go out in the rain with your socks on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could feel the left half of my foot felt like it was rain soaked. Yeah. My sock, and it was bleeding. And I just thought, wow, that's kind of cool. That's kind of badass.
Yeah,
sweet. But no, once I knew the surgery was going to hold up for the game, I can tell you now, and I told the story a lot of times, and I won't tell the whole story, but as a Christian, that period of time in my life was one of the most faith-confirming things that ever happened to me. And I can honestly, hand to God, I'll tell you right now, on that field, on Game 6, on that day, nobody in the world was calmer than I was.
Yes. Kurt, I reached out to you, 3 or 4 days ago or so, and I told you kind of our story. Here you are with the career you have, and I'm sure people want to have you on the show all over the place nationally or whatever. What was it that you responded to being on this show when this is a launch for us the last 7 days?
Because I like people that care about sports and are passionate and are real. I spent my life, the game gave me everything I could ever ask for and more. I owe the game far more than it ever could have given me. And being able to be involved with grassroots stuff, people that are trying to do it right, sports fans that are trying to talk about sports and not tear people down, that's fun for me. One of the things baseball gave me was the ability to share my experiences with guys like you. And for fans to get a vicarious thrill, getting to know what was on my mind in games. I love that stuff. That's fun for me. I grew up a fan. I was a fan long before I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for you guys, I was a fan of the greatest franchise ever in the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I was a fan. I've always been a fan. So, I was never that guy who was like, I don't think about baseball when I'm not playing. Baseball consumed me for 40 years of my life. Every waking moment. And so I don't look, and by the way, if I could have sat down at 18 and written my dream life, I wouldn't have scratched the surface of what I actually got to live.
Isn't that great?
But I've done this enough to know that shows like yours talk and reach out to real people, and for the most part, people that do what you guys do are fans, and that's what I want more. I always I liked the media members that were fans. They were fun. They would rip me for doing stuff wrong, which was fine. And they would rip me and they would be nice. I just wanted honest media.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to find these days.
My God, you're right. And it's disgusting in some ways to me. Paul, you want to say, you know what? This is.
I do. I just want to say I'm glad that no one had a reaction video on me where I was working in 2004. I was working at a Borders bookstore in Tampa, Florida, and it was closing at night. And I had cleared it with my boss that I could run up and downstairs and check on Game 4 and what was going on, and if you guys were winning and checking the score. And it kind of grew out of just quick run-ups to, okay, I'm just going to watch these 2 outs. Once they get these 2 outs, and I'm good. And it got longer and longer. And my coworkers, all of whom were not sports fans. It's a bookstore, so it's a lot of goth kids and people who like witches and stuff. So I was kind of the only one. Well, when Folk threw that pitch, caught the ball, threw it over to Minkiewicz for the last out, I went bat crap crazy, running around the store. Me too. And all these people, Kurt, they did not know what they thought. I'd have a mental break. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm just as happy as I've ever been.
And that's that's the one thing I try to tell young players is you have a chance in your life to make somebody remember you for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Kurt. And you never know when that opportunity is going to show up. And did you see Trott's bases loaded, almost grand slam?
No, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you saw, that was like, that was a tight game. Mm-hmm. And I'm still in my mind going, what could the curse actually do? Could they actually beat us thinking right up until Minkiewicz caught the ball, I thought we might lose, but I didn't. It was one of those things. Hell, we were up. What were you up 10-2 in the Game 6, 7-7?
Yeah.
Against the Yankees? Mm-hmm. They brought Pedro, and I thought, oh my God, we're going to lose. Because the fans went crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about it is once you busted that drought, then here comes 3 of them. That's.
Yeah, well, the thing was, and the thing that one of the things I think I brought was the curse was, and pardon my French bullshit. It was, the curse was a curse of talent. They weren't good enough. And I don't mean any disrespect, but the best teams win in October. And, once you got past, there were guys, I can remember Kevin Millar talking about in 2003, he didn't want the ball hit to him. He didn't want to be the next Bill Buckner.
Oh, man.
And I was like, well, you can either be that guy or you can change the narrative. Mm-hmm. And I was never, I was almost like Pedro in a sense that, wake up the Bambino and I'll drill him in the ass kind of thing. Like, that stuff meant nothing to me. And so I had no burden. I had no extra worry. I just had to play. I had to get my teammates to understand that's all they had to do, too.
Unbelievable, man. Well, so thrilled to have you on and appreciate your true serum. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kurt.
you, guys.
Hey, good luck with
you.
everything.
Hey, good luck to your show.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Kurt.
much. Wow.
Take care, gentlemen.
That's great. Kurt Schilling. Maybe one day he'll get the 75% of the vote.
He was 20 votes short this year. So it's – and he said, if you're going to hold somebody out because, I don't like them very much, there are plenty of people. That's why I like the way the Football Hall of Fame does it, is they'll sit you in a room, and if you stood up and said, well, Lawrence Taylor, shut up.
There's accountability.
Yeah, there's accountability. There's not accountability. And then guys can just, he was mean to me at a locker one time, or I perceived him to be mean to me, or he was outspoken and I don't agree. People are going to say or have feelings of what they are. It's about what you did on the field. And Curt Schilling was, and if I was a voter in any Hall of Fame, my barometer is, are you one of the top players at your position in your era?
Well, I gave all those stats, yeah.
Because eras change. And Curt Schilling was one of the guys you would want on the mound in that era. If you said, okay, I'm going to give you these pitchers and Curt Schilling's one of them, you would have taken him.
Yeah, no
Everyone
question.
would have.
Yeah, you're quite, and hopefully that will happen, just like it happened for a couple of others finally in recent years.
Just maybe need some of the old guard to move along.
And sometimes that's true. Dak Prescott and the statement, thank you to Curt Schilling, appreciate he and Nate Newton in this hour with John McClain. I understand this is Dak Prescott, a statement from earlier when Stephen Jones released one. I understand and accept that there are additional responsibilities and media scrutiny that come with being an NFL quarterback. But it's very frustrating and disappointing when people provide completely inaccurate information from anonymous sources, especially now. To set the record straight, I know we all need to do our best to socially distance, and like everyone else, I'm continuing to adjust to what that requires. But the truth is that I was with fewer than 10 people for a home dinner, not a party, on Friday night. I'm very sensitive to the challenges we're facing and making sure to support the first responders, medical personnel, and everyone else putting in long hours. We're all at a time when we need to keep educating ourselves about the importance of health and isolation during this pandemic, and I will continue to make sure to do my part following the guidelines until we are approved to start returning to normal activities. And there was a picture of one of the great steakhouses that's in Dallas that was set up for a party. I don't know if that was for something that's a future party.
They catered that party.
Yeah. So that's just something else yet again on what's going on. Thanks to Mac Rhodes today. We had a heck of a show, guys, and I know it kind of had to be bounced around a little bit.
I want to say on Dak, I'm not one of those people that's going crazy. I just think that he's got to be mindful of the example that he sets. Just appearing in a picture with a bunch of other people out working out. If you're a high school football player and you see him on the field with Dez and Zeke and 5-6 other guys, then hey, if they're doing it, it's cool for us to do it too, and then he'll send 20 people. And then I don't think we all need to be living in fear by any means, and we need to live our lives as best as we can, but we also have to be mindful not of ourselves, but of other people. And also in his case, that's unique to him and very few others, of the example that you're showing every time you're doing something. And so whoever got the total party count wrong, shame on them. The person who snuck a picture, who was apparently one of only 10 people that was there, if it was such a small event, then I would think it would be very easy to narrow down who that person was and ban them for life from any other social gatherings in the future.
All right, so you're right. There's a lot going on, and the last thing we need now is even something that's not true that spreads more panic or more frustration or anger. We opened up today's show with a Hall of Famer in Charles Haley. Curt Schilling will be one day. Nate Newton even said he might be if it wasn't for him not learning sooner how to become a professional. What a great segment he was. John McClain, Baylor's Davion Mitchell. Thanks to Mac Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics. Imagine what he's dealing with right now. And I've seen a lot of quotes from other media that also have talked to him. We have him live, and that segment will be up on our podcast on SicEm365.com very soon, along with at SicEm365 Radio, and on our timelines on Twitter, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak. Nick Florence, he was thrilled to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. Nick Florence will forever be a part of the history of Baylor for just a game against Texas Tech when he burned a red shirt. And here you have these transfer portals, and everyone gets an extra year in some cases.
So Nick Florence, look, I'm going to campaign. That is the Nick Florence rule.
Yeah, that would be a good one. No question about it. Thanks to go ahead.
Did want to make one more piece of news, or put one more piece of news out there. Baylor Athletics has had this string of spring athletes announcing that they were going to be coming back to school next year, obviously having their seasons canceled. And there's going to be some who just want to start the real world in their real lives, and they're going to go to work and not come back for a potential senior year. But they've had this list of players, as they've announced, from tennis to softball, etc., say that they are coming back. So like Shelby McGlone-Goose said it yesterday, she'll be back for Baylor softball next year. But Andy Thomas, Baylor baseball, announced that he'll be back with the Bears next year as well. So just a little update there.
This is how we're going to wrap it up today with Stephen Vaughn. Smokey, Paul, and Craig, I'm so happy for all of you. I listened live and to every podcast when you were on the radio. Thank you for helping me brighten up my life with Baylor sports coverage. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So thrilled you're back and on SicEm365 Radio. We've heard from a lot of you when it comes to that. For Paul, Catalina, thanks to our amazing sponsors. You know who they are. You've heard them throughout the show. Our title sponsor, Ideal MRI. Welcome to the Willis Law Firm and Richard Carr Motors as our two newest sponsors of this show that continues to grow. Please spread the word. For Paul, for Craig, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for listening whenever you do, however long it might be. And good night. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.